is going to be giving his presentation on police reform, that the board will be passing a resolution tonight to approve it, and that will be forwarded about a month early to New York, to Albany. Okay, so would you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Chief, it's all yours.
All right, thank you. All right, so I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Those that showed up, this was an important process for us. So we took this police reinvention seriously. So tonight I'm going to briefly describe what our plan is. How I want to start this out is basically give you folks an idea of where our agency was at prior to the executive order and what we've done after the executive order was issued out. I also want to explain the breakdown of our department a little bit for those that you might not know. So this is our department's mission statement. We established this mission statement in 2013, and I'd just like to briefly read it because it goes along with the governor's executive order, which I'm proud to say that a lot of these things in this executive order, the Seneca Falls Police Department were complying with. It is the mission of the Seneca Falls Police Department to provide effective police services that exceed the expectations of citizens and visitors in our community. We are committed to the protection of life and property and the prevention of crime and disorder. We recognize that we are an integral part of the community, and as such, we are determined to provide the highest quality of life for its members and visitors. We desire to establish strong community partnerships that seek proactive approaches with innovation solutions to potentially safety concerns. We encourage the public to embrace the department from taking a unified policing approach toward public safety through communication, education, understanding, and awareness. This we established in 2013. We have 17 full-time sworn officers, 2 civilian clerks. We operate obviously 24/7. Number of emergency services that we pride ourselves with reducing fear in the community through crime prevention. And I just want to give you a couple statistical numbers, give you an idea of what we do. So I separate complaints from calls for service, total complaints. Some agencies in the county will hear, that they handled X amount of calls for service, where I break it down for actual what we're actually getting called to do or we observe. This excludes traffic stops, transports, boat complaints, eviction, property checks, and civil complaints. So in 2019, we handled just over 8,000. In 2020, we handled 7,758. Duty-related events is what you'll probably see most in the county. That's a totality of everything that comes in through the 911 center. In 2020, we had 21,000. Just over 21,000. In 2019, we had just over 19,000. Those figures make us the busiest agency in Seneca County. So the New York State accreditation process, we entered we started the process in 2013, 2012, 2013, and we were fully accredited by 2014. The accreditation process takes a hard look by independent assessors that come into our agency every 5 years and look through every file and every policy and procedure that we have, and we have to show compliance for those every single year. So that, in other words, instead of just saying that we have policies and procedures and we're following them, we have to show each year that we're complying with those. So the accreditation process sends in 3 assessors every 5 years to look at each folder that has to show compliance for each year. So that's, in other words, saying just because we have policies doesn't mean we're following them. This is showing that we follow the policies and procedures that are set forth. This is big too, because it was one of my major goals as becoming chief was to become an accredited agency. This again takes care of a lot of the executive orders that the governor set forth on us. And I just want to read these 4 points. To increase the effectiveness and efficiency of law enforcement agencies utilizing existing personnel, equipment, and facilities to the extent possible. To promote increased cooperation and coordination amongst law enforcement agencies and other agencies of criminal justice services. To ensure the appropriate training of law enforcement personnel. To promote public confidence in law enforcement. Those are the standards that were set forth by the accreditation standard in 1989. Again, we were originally accredited in 2014. We had our 5-year recrep that came up in 2019, so just before the governor's executive order came out, where we had 157, or we're one of 157 agencies in New York State that is a fully accredited police department out of 514. This was one of the quotes that were in the paper in September of 2009 after we received our accreditation. I believe this is where the governor is going to be going in New York State, is to mandate that every police agency in New York State is accredited in some fashion. I felt that way from the get-go. I felt that our job is important enough that if you wouldn't go to a doctor that wasn't board certified. And I feel that our job is important enough to where you shouldn't expect a law enforcement agency to come and provide police services to you if they're not, quote, board certified or accredited. So on June 12th of 2020, the governor's executive order came out, Executive Order 203, the Police Reform and Reinvention Collaboration. Purpose was to create changes in law enforcement policies and strategies to mitigate police-involved deaths and racially biased law enforcement. This was after the George Floyd incident that we all know about. Here's an interesting slide that I wanted to point out. All those sections in red, I hope you guys can kind of see and read that, were already mandated by the Municipal Police Training Council to be included in the basic course for police officers prior to the executive order. So the governor, mandated all these different things. These things were already being implemented prior to his executive order in the basic course for police officers. So now we're getting into some of the mandates. Evidence-based policing strategies you'll hear of. How does our department comply? All of our Municipal Police Training Council model policies have been implemented, were implemented. Whenever they came out from DCGS, we implemented them. These are things that we didn't wait until the executive order. We've been implementing these since accreditation. Again, all the other policies are reviewed by New York State accreditation assessors. And what we've done differently, so we discovered that we needed a better way of tracking our training, our use of force reports, vehicle pursuits, internal affairs, employee complaints, things of that nature. I went to the town board, this board, asked them for some funding to get a software called LEFT, or Shield software system. This software system, everything is implemented into the software system as early warning detections, such as if an officer uses force more than, what is it, Lieutenant, like 3 or 4 times, 3 times, it flags that. So we take a harder look. It could be that officer just happened to have to use force in those 3 separate times, or it could be something that we have to take a harder look at. The software system flags all that stuff for us, and any kind of use of force, if it's used by an officer, it goes to the shift supervisor next for review, then it goes from the shift supervisor to the lieutenant, from the lieutenant to myself. It has to be reviewed and approved 4 different times before it's cleared through. Community-based surveys and forums. One note, in September, I believe it was, we held community surveys and forums to get feedback from the community based on the executive order. We also sent out a survey. And one thing that I'd like to note is, on the survey, one of the questions was, have you had police contact within the last 3 years? Second question was, if yes, were you satisfied with your police contact? And I had all the, very satisfied, satisfied, not satisfied. 91.3% of those police contacts came back satisfied with the local law enforcement. I don't know anywhere else you're going to go in a public forum like this or public service where you're going to get over 90% satisfaction rate with the law enforcement. I'm very proud of that statistic. Those surveys were anonymous. So you could put your name, but you didn't have to. So the anonymous feedback was important for us, and that's still what we received back. Procedural justice, you'll hear that in the news, you'll hear that in different things. I wasn't too familiar with it really until the executive order came out and really started looking into some things. Really, it's based off being just a good cop. That's the way I look at it. Procedural justice is treating people with dignity and respect, giving citizens a voice during encounters, being neutral in decision-making, and conveying trustworthy motives. That's what good cops do every single day. That's what we strive ourselves on in Seneca Falls Police Department. So how do we comply with the procedural justice? We continue to treat everybody as fair as we can, no matter who they are. We treat everybody like family. I harp on it to my officers that if whatever that situation is, cause them to call 911. It might be the 20th time that we showed up to that complaint. We may be frustrated with that neighbor dispute because it's ongoing and we've been called over and over again. But whatever that incident was enough to where they called 911. And we're problem solvers, and that's what we're paid to do. We're public servants, and we go to those calls and we try to handle them as if it was our mother, father, sister, brother, any of those situations. Transparency, we document just the facts on the report. We implemented our body camera program in 2013. There's agencies that still don't have a body camera program out there. We're supported by the town board here. We're supported by the community, and those body cameras have been an unbelievable tool with law enforcement. We do monthly public statistical data. We do a year-end report. So not only are we doing monthly reports, but we're doing year-end reports covering, and I each month, and at the end of the year, I compare last year's or last month's to our current status. And multiple social media platforms. We have Facebook and Instagram that we put things out on. We have public forums and surveys. We have anonymous reporting and contacts with personnel, good or bad. So they can be anonymous reports. They can be, you'll find those on our webpage. And you can file an anonymous complaint. You can call and file an anonymous complaint against an officer. Impartiality, all situations are handled based off facts. Racial bias and racial justice. What have we done? Periodically sent officers to implicit bias training. We did that prior to the executive order again. We didn't wait for the executive order to recognize that there is racial bias and racial injustice in everybody. We want our officers to recognize that. immigration enforcement policy, which we created in 2019, again, prior to the executive order. Specific policy for handling hate crimes, implemented in July of 2013. What we've changed, we've mandated the yearly implicit bias training for officers, so that wasn't a mandate, but now it is. So we've looked at our policies and procedures and recognized that this is something that we should do yearly. De-escalation training and practices. How does our department comply with that? Communication. So we currently have 11 of our 17 officers crisis intervention trained. That CIT team that you see here on here, that is all communication based. That's a week long of just hammering in good communication to our police officers and handling situations, having empathy for the situation. Again, the basic course for police officers updated their curriculum and to include critical decision making. And we implemented mandatory yearly training of use of force for every member. And we recently sent one of our members for a less lethal training program. So that's if we're going to try to get, for instance, let's say a beanbag gun or something like less lethal like that. We send an officer to be trained to then come back and train our department in less lethal devices. Currently we have pepper spray. We have new tasers that we just purchased, the newest and greatest tasers that are able to deploy the taser at longer distances to de-escalate situations. But really the biggest thing that we have to de-escalate situations is our mouths, is our voice. One of our goals, department goals, so we set department goals every year, and one of our goals is to establish a better, less than lethal options in the event that we need them. Our goal number 2, out of our 3 goals that we set this year, was to have 100% of our members CIT trained by the end of the year, which I feel that we'll be able to do. Law enforcement assisted diversion programs. We have a great diversion program with many different county resources. We have mental health collaboration, single point access for youth services, child abuse response team. That's a CART team for any kind of child abuse that goes on. Team members from investigators get together and discuss the best protocols to investigate the child abuse. Safe Harbors and Domestic Violence Services, Veterans Outreach, and FLACRA. Community-based outreach. Been difficult this year with COVID, but normally we attend events, we set up booths, we get out there, we try to meet people. We have It's a Wonderful Life, Canal Fest, Yogi's Community Day, Christmas Fill the Cruiser is a huge event for us. School and job county fairs, job fairs, National Night Out is another big event that we host. Some of the services we provide, Safe Child ID cards, child safety seat technicians. We have 3 of those to ensure that the child safety seat is installed correctly. We've implemented a citizen survey where we randomly send out surveys to people that have police contact. We've been doing that since 2017. Drug take-back program we've been doing for years for the DEA. And we have a ride-along program with the school. If a child is in the school is interested in law enforcement, we work with them to get them an 8-hour day of riding with one of our officers. We work with Kim Stevers on that. Problem-oriented policing, that's pretty easy in a small community. We know our hot spots. We don't need to have a big fancy computer to tell us where we're going every single day, every single week. But, you know, that's one of the things that they want us to take a look at. Our records management system called Spillman will also track that for us. But like I said, being in a small community, we know where we're going on a weekly, monthly basis. Crime prevention through environmental design. Again, one of those things that, in a small community is fairly easily done. We try to keep well-lit areas. We've been added, the town's been supportive in adding a bunch of cameras throughout the towns and our parks and things like that. That's a good way to prevent crime. We have scam prevention seminars to the elderly, and we constantly push crime prevention things out through our social media platforms. Violence prevention and reduction interventions. We have DARE in our schools, and one huge thing that we have is our school resource officer program, which again has been highly supported in our communities and by the town board. That school resource officer is a direct correlation between our police department, the school district, the kids, their parents. It really brings the community right in tight with us. We have National Night Out, where we host a big event for the kids. We have our ride-along program, Reading Week, job fairs, and every single safety drill that occurs at the school we participate in. Gets every one of our officers to get into the schools, get to meet the principals, the superintendent, the teachers. They get to understand the hallways and different entrance points and everything that you may go throughout your career really not recognizing until you get out of the car, get into the school, and start walking the hallways. Municipal Police Training Council, that's MPTC model policies, has created 17 model policies intended for guidance for law enforcement. We've implemented every single one minus the unmanned aerial vehicles, that's drones. Although my lieutenant would really like that. But every one was implemented long before the governor's executive order. When it came out, it just makes sense to take it. Why would you not? They've already gone through all the vetting process to make sure that it's a sound policy. Our policies. We currently have 105 general orders or policies. We call them general orders. We have 70 rules and regulations and a 31-page uniform standards manual. Accreditation mandates and reviews 111 standards that must be complied with yearly. So we have 111 standards that the assessors come in and look at for compliance for each year. And those are on the blue box there, those are the critical standards that accreditation deems critical. Hiring process, not a lot of people understand the hiring process when it comes to law enforcement. It's all set by civil service. Law enforcement has no say in that. It's something that probably needs to be revamped, but it's out of our hands. A police officer or a civilian signs up for a law enforcement exam, takes the civil service exam, tries to score as high as they can on that exam, and at that point, we go to a physical agility, which I think is, they have to pass a physical agility, sit-ups, push-ups, half-mile run. That's all set by age, depending on how old they are, depending on how the time limit and the number of push-ups, sit-ups you have to do. They have to get through that. Once they get through that, it's a whole process. So you go, if you're reachable on the list and you pass your physical agility, you go to an interview. Go to the interview. You start our background packet, which is probably 40 pages of information they have to supply. They go to a polygraph, a psychological evaluation. It's a whole to-do to get in to just walk one step into the academy. Then you have to pass the academy, 21 weeks, I think. Then you have 16 weeks of field training that you have to pass. Then you're on probation for 18 months. It's not an easy process. It's not something that anybody can just do. Basic course for police officers is a minimum standard of 700 hours. The average academy in New York State is 1,100 hours. Well, far beyond what's mandated. And you can see up here the topics covered in the basic course for police officers. There are a lot of these different sections that the governor's saying that law enforcement needs training on. And as you can see, it's done in the basic course, but that's not necessarily where it should stop either. But we recognize that. Duty to intervene, that's a big thing that you've probably heard some things about. So in our policy, we have a duty to intervene. Studies have shown that if an officer gets into a very high stress situation, that they could have this tunnel vision type thing. If somebody was just trying to kill them, they kind of go into this like funnel type situation. Other officers have a duty now to intervene, to pull that officer back and make sure that they don't do anything they're supposed to do. And it doesn't matter if they're from a different agency or not. That is in our policy. Department training and requirements. Officers must have the skills and knowledge to effectively do their jobs, and our department is committed to that. Every member must complete a minimum of 21 hours of in-service training per year by accreditation. So accreditation mandates at least 21 hours per officer a year of training. Again, in 2020, our department implemented mandatory de-escalation and implicit bias training to be completed yearly. One of the changes that we implemented with Executive Order 203 was this. We recognize that just because you're trained on it in the basic course doesn't mean that you're going to remember this. This type of thing has to be drilled in our officers' heads on a yearly basis. Prior to the implementation of the mandate, though, we were sending officers periodically as schedules fit. Now it's a mandated training. Supervisors for our department must complete additional specialized leadership training on a yearly basis. So they don't really specify exactly what that is, but they have to complete at least some specialized leadership training on a yearly basis. And here's some of the in-service training topics that we handle. Use of force policy information, another big discussion. Our use of force policy has been updated 7 times since 2013. Our TASER program policy has been updated 7 times since 2013 as well, recently just last week. Use of deadly physical force has been updated 6 times since 2013. These are policies that we're not just sitting on and waiting for the governor to say, you have to do this or that, or you should probably take a look at your policy and procedure on use of force and see, if it complies. These are things that we're constantly reviewing, constantly updating, and making sure that they're squared away. Just because an officer can use force against an individual and it's justified doesn't necessarily mean that it should be done. We're constantly putting ourselves in situations where force probably, or per the orders, is justified to do. But we try a different technique, a less lethal, like actually talking to somebody and trying to get them to comply. citizen complaint process. So we look into every single complaint, whether it's anonymous, by name, by phone, a Facebook post saying, you know, this officer did this or that. We look into every single one, start a complaint number, and investigate it all the way through. This is the complaint process. So again, you can file it anonymously through our webpage. You can call in it anonymously, because there's people that are afraid that, well, if I file a complaint against Lieutenant Snyder, then, you know, there's going to be recourse for that complaint. If that's the case, and I understand that, not that we do that, but I do understand the fear of that. If that was the case, you know, and you want to file a complaint, you can do it anonymously, and we'll handle it exactly the same way as if it was filed by name. Who can file a complaint? Anybody. Anybody can file a complaint. How can you file a complaint? We've already gone through that. In writing, telephone, anonymous, online, many different avenues for filing a complaint. Who will investigate the complaint? Now this kind of varies depending on the seriousness of the complaint. If it's a complaint that an officer was rude or something like that, then a sergeant will handle the complaint. If it's a complaint where there's like, let's say, something much more severe, like I'm not even sure what example to use. That would go directly to the lieutenant and myself, where we would investigate the complaint or seek assistance with one of our investigators. Or if it's serious enough, we'd call in another agency to investigate it. Again, we take every complaint against our department seriously. We do not want a bad police officer here in our community. And who makes the final decision? The final decision rests on my shoulders for discipline, and I advise the town board of that decision. So we use the SARA method for discipline procedures. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of the SARA model, but this is how we go about it, depending on the situation. That's it. I'll open it up to any questions anybody has.
So it looks like most of the things that came out in the governor's mandates you already had in place, due in large part due to the accreditation process. Is there something changed that was implemented that you think is the most momentous, or?
Well,
were they all fine?
I think our LEFTA system, our software system that we implemented, that we were doing everything, obviously, because we just were accredited in 2019. We were doing everything per policy. But I looked at our system and I said, you know, it's very difficult to extract some of that data out of the software system that we're compiling all this into. And this LEFTA or SHIELD software system that we now have purchased, everything starts and finishes and ends in there. It's very searchable. It does reports for us, and we can see all of those high risk situations and hopefully even prevent them before they become an issue. So I would say the software system with our use of force, with our personnel complaints, vehicle pursuits, things like that, where all that data goes into one software system is a huge step. I would say mandating some of the mandated training was another big step forward that we took with the executive order and said, okay, this is something that we could be doing better on, and we implemented it. We implemented that in the SHIELD software system, like shortly after we started looking at things and saying, you know what, this could be done a little bit better. Let's figure out a way of doing this where we can we can do this a little bit better based on the executive order. So when I say that majority of things were already in place prior to the executive order, they were. But that doesn't mean we didn't take a hard look at everything and say, okay, there are still some things that are coming from this that we can implement to make our department even better.
Then the second thing I have is that, the large metropolitan areas, a lot of them are developing citizens review boards of some kind or another, and they're in the throes of trying to figure out what that's going to look like. With our complaint process, the complaints lodged inside the department, and the assessment and everything that happens seems to be inside the department. And then if outside help is needed, you say go to another agency, which I think probably bring in a different law enforcement agency.
Well,
So there are probably some in the community who are saying, well, where's the civilian oversight?
Well, I will. This is my answer to that.
Okay.
The civilian oversight is sitting right here, the town board. The town board is really the police department's community review board of the police department. Anything that occurs or happens that goes wrong, you guys are the citizen review board on this, really. And now with the new stipulations, any death that occurs from a police officer at all, the investigation automatically goes to the Attorney General's office. It's out of every law enforcement's hand in New York State. It automatically is investigated by the Attorney General's office. So, really, the Citizen Review Board is the town elected officials.
That's assuming that we hear about the incident.
Correct. But we also have a public safety board, or public safety committee, with two board members that sit on the public safety committee.
But it's the same thing. There's that information. If there's a complaint, how does that get outside the department? And I'm not putting you on the spot and saying answer that, create an answer now. But maybe if you're relying on us, then maybe complaints becomes a part of the monthly report that we get. There's got to be some routine manner of telling us that something has happened that doesn't involve us hearing about it on the street and going, I have no idea.
That's a good point, Doug. I could actually add that to my monthly report in that very first page where I break it down. I just recently added, based on the changes, use of forces, right? So I have that small paragraph in that snapshot area that shows how many use of forces we had per month, all right? And there's what we call subject resistance reports, and how many individuals were injured or how many police officers were injured in resulting of those subject resistance reports. So that is something I could add to my monthly report, which I also share with the community, of how many personnel complaints we received.
It would put us automatically, routinely in that chain.
Yep, absolutely.
Hopefully there won't be many. I don't think there will.
There isn't many, but they periodically come in, and I don't have a problem reporting both to the public and the board about when they do.
Chief, I want to thank you for all your hard work, and Lieutenant Snyder and your department, all your hard work. I know it's been a tough 7-8 months putting all this together and reviewing what you had in place. Self-reflection is the best way for improvement, and you certainly have done that. I'm very comfortable and confident in approving this and moving it forward for approval by the governor's office. So I want to thank you on behalf of the town of Seneca Falls as well as the town board. And also, just so everybody knows, when there's a complaint that comes through, and I think in my tenure so far, the people making the complaint have reached out to the town supervisor's office as well, and I have collaborated with them. But I have the utmost confidence in our leadership, and again, I just want to thank you for everything you've done for this. So, thank you. Thank you. There's a lot of things to address. Right. See him, but he can't hear us.
Dave, it looks like your mic is still muted. You're seeing the muted bottom left-hand corner. Just click on your microphone. Try it now. Hey, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. We can hear you, okay? Okay, you got it. Okay, so as I said, we have a long night, so I ask anybody who's speaking tonight to please adhere to our guidelines. I'd appreciate that. And at this time, I'm going to have Town Clerk Greer take roll call, please.
Okay. Mike Ferrara,
Here.
Doug Avery,
Doug, you here?
Steve Churchill, Dave DeLayla,
Don, you here?
I'm here.
Thank you. We have a couple of board members, obviously, who are on Zoom for some personal issues, so I appreciate your understanding on that. Would you please stand for the pledge? A moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have a couple of petitioners who registered to talk tonight. Mr. Kyle Black, you're up first, please.
Good evening. Get the business side of this out of the way. Here's the fourth quarter payment, $823,000 roundabout. That gives us an annual total of, for this year, it's been brought to the town of $3.166 million. That pretty much is down reflective of the COVID-19 effect on our business and the revenue share that we have with the agreement with the town. So even though we had a tough year, we, as essential workers, kept the nose to the grindstone and still took care of everybody's non-recyclable solid waste and delivered this partnership.
Thank you.
So this is hot off the press, and I'm sorry, the two counselors that are on Zoom. This is our neighbor notes that will be going out this year. Every spring we send these out, so we're a little bit early with what's going on for the year. For what's going on at the site for the year. Again, we have an open door policy, happy to bring anybody in anytime, take a tour, understand what's going on at the site. But, so I'll try to brief this up a little bit. So our construction plans have been prepared. We're excited for the season's begun. You may have already seen the opportunity. We've been working on slope filling operations on 414, so I know here a couple of weeks ago there was some concerns as to blowout, explosion, something like that. Frankly, there never was. That's normal slope filling operations. We need to get the grade so we can put the final cover on that you're going to hear later in here. So that's all normal operations. We strip the cover off, we fill the waste back in, we get that to the grade, and then we put the daily intermediate cover back on, and then this summer we'll be putting additional final cover on. So you see that ongoing. Construction of 5 acres of new landfill liner, and basically that's the last base liner that we have to build in the current footprint. That's the compacted clay and the geomembranes that collect the leachate that we treat in the new cell. This project is going to entail us relocating about 80,000 cubic yards of existing waste on the SMI landfill into the new cells. So we can tie the liner systems in to make the final tie-in on the horseshoe. Installation of 29 acres of final cover, pretty much all the whole east side of the landfill. On the 414 side, it already has about 35 acres of final cover on the south end. This now is going to tie that south end to the north end, so the whole east side and top of the SMI landfill will have final cover on it. Final cover is the compacted soil and geomembranes put on top to get final drainage to our stormwater ponds. It also helps immensely, obviously, with capturing the landfill gas that we send over to our energy partners for renewable energy. In addition, we're doing 17 acres of temporary synthetic membrane on the inside. Again, along the same lines, helps with stormwater, helps with landfill gas collection efficiencies, and all the things that go along with that. So for our 2021 landfill gas installation and construction, we've got about 22,000 feet of landfill gas collector pipes. Those are the pipes that we lay in the waste every 20 feet, and then eventually come out. We connect with a well, and those wells are interkept into pipes and headers that go over to our energy partner over across the street to make renewable electricity and/or pipeline quality gas. There's an additional 25 vertical wells. Those are the permanent landfill gas collection features. The horizontals are really looked at as temporary. The verticals are drilled into the areas that are completed, and then the extraction also happens. Gas is extracted out of those. Continuing investment in our odor neutralizing systems that we have pretty much ringing the perimeter of the site. So what happened with odor control? Our odor control and landfill gas crew continue to work to maximize that efficiency, to get it to our RE Energy, our green engine partner. The fruits of the labor of that with the covers and the collection is in 2020, ARIA produced over 800,000 MMBTUs of renewable gas and 116 million kilowatt hours of electricity, which basically that's enough electricity to power 18,000 homes, of which we have about 17 in Seneca County. So our renewable partner is putting out enough electricity to power this whole county using renewable gas. Introducing the valley infill, we've applied to New York State DEC to utilize the middle area of the valley infill of the existing landfill footprint. Our footprint will not change. Our long-term plans will not alter the current dimensions of landfill. The area will be developed to minimize the size of operational areas and reduce potential for dust and odor. The resulting approval will enable us to operate for approximately an additional 15 years at the current tonnage. We're not asking for a tonnage increase. No wetlands will be impacted, and there will be no increase in noise. Actually, there will be a decrease in noise because we'll be working behind the three landfills. Valley infill will be designed, constructed, and operated to meet and exceed all federal and state requirements, because we got the best team in the business. The men and women of Seneca Meadows are the critical fabric of our community, and we always go above and beyond to do what's right. That's why we have been and will continue to be an economic engine for the area. It's our people and our team. Our neighbors know their commitments, no matter if they're environmental, economic, or charitable. Now more than ever, local governments are in need of revenue streams, and Seneca Meadows provides over $4 million a year in local tax and direct benefits to help maintain low taxes in the area, which also correspond with parks, library, and first responders. This is what makes our communities great, and they need to be protected. So, in addition to that, we contribute another $250,000 a year to local charities, veterans groups, environmental causes, school programs, supporting families in need, first responders. We've annually given the town of Seneca Falls and the town of Waterloo Fire Department $15,000. Work close hand in hand with them to make sure they got what they need. So, our more than 100 local skilled employees and vendors are critical to the region's economy. We're your neighbors. We take great pride every day working safe, protecting the environment for our employees, our families, and providing them essential service. We invite all stakeholders to keep an open mind during the permitting process. Any questions, we encourage them to take a tour of our facility and an open dialogue to fully understand the facts. And again, the open door policy is there for everybody. So.
Thank you, Kyle. Just a couple side notes. When it was reported on the Finger Lakes Times and Finger Lakes One and Facebook that there was a blowout or an explosion at the landfill, I immediately contacted Kyle, who informed me what was going on. At that point, I said thank you, but to verify what was going on, I contacted Peter Baker, and they did an extensive review of the process. It's a 65-page report that has documents from the DEC permit for, for the capping of the landfill, et cetera, which verified which Kyle explained to me in our conversation. If anybody would like to see that report, please email me at my town email address, which is mferrara@senecafalls.com. I'll be more than happy to share that report with you. And the second note, as we all know, in this November of 2020, the DEC sent to me initial review of the central part of the landfill, and going through that review process, etc. I have talked to our environmental lawyer from Nixon, Peabody, and he recommends that we start reviewing that process, as well as be prepared for the public comment section of the permit and the SECRA and so forth, which is, obviously the report has not been finalized yet, but there will be a time for public comment. I'm going to ask the board tonight permission to start that process with, again, Peter Baker, and to start reviewing the process for the application to the DEC, so that the town's interests are certainly make sure that we're protected, as well as all of our citizens. Okay? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Our second petitioner is Mark Pittifer, landfill and update. I'm sorry. Landfill.
Thank you. Good evening, Supervisor Ferrara, members of the town board, and those attending here tonight. Thank you, as always, for this opportunity to speak. My name is Mark Pittifer. I'm the Director of Community Relations for Bonadent Dental Laboratories. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of our company and the Bonafiglia family, to speak on several critical issues facing the town, specific to Seneca Meadows landfill and their failure to meet guidelines for an approved operating permit and their request for expansion. First, with regard to the operating permit. As we all know, Seneca Meadows has been operating without an approved permit for nearly a year. The permit was tabled because Seneca Meadows' failure to control their odor issues. In an effort to work collectively with the Seneca Meadows towards an approved permit, the Seneca Falls Waste Management Advisory Committee requested an updated and reliable odor monitoring system that the public could trust. We've now learned, however, that after almost a year, Seneca Meadows' response to this request was simply no. Despite their claims of being a great neighbor that works in partnership with the town, when asked to make these measures to address the odor issues and odor monitoring, their response was no. It should come as no surprise, while rejecting the request for a more reliable odor monitoring system, the offensive odors from the landfill continue to be problematic. When I spoke here last August, complaints were reported 25% of the days in July. Well, in the past 60 days, we've had to call in odor complaints at Bonadent 15 times, or 48% of the days in January, 8 times, or 29% of the days in February. Despite phone records indicating 15 calls in January, only 10 reports were filed. Of those 10 reports, only 4 indicated that there was odor on site. On average, it takes about 20 to 25 minutes for a return phone call in response to the complaint, and likely at least another 15 minutes for a representative to allegedly come on site. Clearly, the landfill's odor reporting system is flawed, as the town addressed in the past. Yet when you as the board voted in 4-1 in request of a better system, Seneca Meadows' response is no. From Leland Drive to Minders Academy to Bonneton, at all hours of the day, the landfill odors can be smelled. Most notably from our schools, where our children spend significant portions of their days, and where teams come to visit in competitive sport. This is not exactly the way we as a community should want to be represented. And it's not just visiting athletes impacted by the odor. Last year I shared a story of a Boston dentist who, while visiting, couldn't believe the odor and stated it would impact him ever returning. Now, we're seeing surrounding communities stand up to express their concerns. Both the city and town of Geneva have gone so far as to pass unanimous resolutions requesting to the DEC that the Seneca Meadows be denied their expansion request. And I can assure you that Geneva is just the first of many communities to sign on and voice concerns over the negative impact that the landfill has on our region. Delivering tonight's check is just one of many commitments that Seneca Meadows made when they signed the host agreement with the town. They also made a commitment to take reasonable and corrective measures to address odor issues. But their answer was no. The current host agreement states, with respect to odor complaints, Seneca Meadows will take reasonable and corrective measures to mitigate odor. Clearly, if 48% of January and 29% of February saw odor levels rising to requiring complaints, they have not taken reasonable measures to mitigate the problem and to comply with their current host agreement. So finally, members of the board, there are ways to run a municipality that don't involve trash money. Cities, towns, and villages across New York State are proof of it. On behalf of Bonneton and the Bonifiglia family, I ask you to continue to hold Seneca Meadows accountable to the current host agreement which they agreed to. Withhold their operating permit until they have significantly reduced the odor they generate, and deny any requests for future agreements or expansion. Because in the heart of the Finger Lakes, and at the birthplace of women's rights, is the largest landfill in New York State, which also wants to expand to 2040, 19 more years at 6,000 tons per day. This, we believe, is unacceptable. Thank you.
Just one thing, Mr. Bitterford. So if you remember, there was a subcommittee formed from the town board, Councilman Churchill, Councilman Avery, along with the town attorney, Mr. Morrell, and the waste management input, and they put together a couple proposals to SMI, okay? And we sent that on to SMI. We just received a response from SMI in a letter, and their position is that they're following the conditions of the host agreement. In the host agreement, there is language that there's a conflict resolution part of the host agreement, as I'm sure you've studied the host agreement in quite detail. So now, one of the things that'll have to happen is that some type of committee will sit down with SMI in a conflict resolution issue, okay, and discuss the odor issues and so forth, type of thing. But SMI's position is that they are following all the guidelines put out by the DEC, in which the DEC verifies. But so now it comes to the point where, so as I said, we just received correspondence back from our letter in whatever it was, December, October, okay?
If I may
just
comment,
yeah.
It's not just the host benefit agreement that they're violating. The town has codes, landfill codes, section 185 of our codes, and it clearly states conditions, which is what we essentially proposed in order for them to get their permit renewal. The town board may impose conditions on the construction and operation of any landfill as may be necessary to protect public health, safety, welfare, or the environment. Such conditions may address the environment and economic impacts, including but not limited to odor, dust, noise, community character, litter, vermin, traffic, surface water, groundwater quality, air quality, property values, tourism and economic development, financial security, foreclosure, post-closure monitoring, remediation, aesthetics, land use, and environmental monitoring. This is part of our Seneca Falls codes, which has really nothing to do with the host benefit agreement. They're violating the codes. They've been in violation of the codes. That's why they don't have a permit. It also says here at the very top, landfill permit requirements, no person shall hereinafter construct or operate a sanitary landfill in the town of Seneca Falls, New York, until a permit to construct and operate a landfill has first been obtained from the town board. So essentially they're operating illegally because they don't have a permit. Thank you.
Okay, privilege of the floor.
Yes, ma'am. Just because Val couldn't be here tonight, I'm substituting. And we're wallowing in the landfill tonight. I've had my shots. Rabies. Well, I want to thank, I'm Jean Gilroy. I live at 1872 Gravel Road, Seneca Falls. And I'm in the direct path of the landfill smell every day. First, I want to thank our town employees and our workers and our police department for keeping our beautiful town running smoothly this past year during COVID. It hasn't been easy, but I want you to know the people of the town are grateful for your efforts. Second, I have some thoughts for you to ponder, and since we're all talking about garbage now, I want to say garbage is a dirty business. I invite everybody to go out Route 414 North and watch the trash that's deposited at the top of the mountain, watch it fall down the hill, watch the seagulls fly, and smell the dump. We have monster trucks that roll through downtown Seneca Falls from the north, from the south, from the east, and the west. And they come here to party. These trucks are not sealed. These trucks sit in a parking lot, and I can smell them at 2 in the morning. Garbage is a stinky business. I don't need to talk any more on that subject, except to say that when I file a complaint and the truck comes to investigate, it's there for 10 seconds because I stand there and I count. The truck slows down on gravel road, he rolls down the window, sticks his nose out, 10 seconds, count to 10, and he's gone. So tell me that's an investigation? I don't believe it. 2 months later, I get the odor report. They've been negligent in sending odor reports to all of us who complain. Garbage is dirty politics. Want to expand your business? Spread more money, more money, more money. We're coming into a very divisive political season. And since corporations are people too, we can expect massive political donations to any pro-dump candidate running for office. And why? Because SMI wants 15 more years of dumping. They want to fill in the valley infill. Now, doesn't that sound sweet? Valley infill. Do you know what the valley infill is? It's the Tantello hazardous Superfund waste toxic site that sits in the middle of Seneca Meadows. They want to dump 6 tons a day on top of our toxic waste dump. So, 15 more years of dirty trucks, dirty air, dirty politics, and somebody else's trash spread over the 50 acres. Time is up in 2025. Let's keep it that way, because Waste Connections is a dirty business. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other petitions? Yes, sir. Mr. Jones?
Earlier today, I reached out to Town Supervisor Michael Ferrara, requesting that I be placed on the agenda if there was any discussion as it pertained to Seneca Metals or its parent company. And I thank you for allowing me to speak.
You didn't write the whole, what my comment was, though. You didn't tell everybody what I said.
The comment was, Mike and I like to have fun. He said the meeting starts at 10 o'clock. Anybody here old enough? Paul Harvey? The rest of the story? Okay, the rest of the story. Mark Pittifer, Gene Gilroy. This is not pointed toward you, Kyle. This is pointed toward SMI and your parent corporation. But why should the community residents believe your corporation, your company now? After all, SMI officials have been telling us for years we are getting control of the smell. Trust me when I say the smell coming from your landfill is atrocious. And I have some examples. Gene, you stole my thunder. Gravel Road, there's not a day going north on gravel or coming south, the landfill, you can smell it. Some more examples. Sunday, coming back from Rochester, Waterloo Outlet Mall. Whew. My wife says, we're back in Seneca County. I mean, it's not just a gravel road, and it's just not out here by Gould's Pumps, Fall Street. Waterloo Outlet Mall. True story. Paul Harvey's a true story. My mother-in-law, Helen Polakowski, 91 years of age. This won't be that long, like, be over by 10. I bring her to Del Lago for her vaccination. And by the way, I can't say enough about our county doing what they're doing on getting vaccinations out to all of us. My mother-in-law lives in independent living in Rochester, 91 years of age. She came down to Del Lago. I picked her up to get her shot. She told me I could use her name. As we got off exit 41, she says, I know I'm in Seneca County. That smell just never goes away. So Kyle, I'm here to say for the message to SMI and your parent company, the smell is probably worse today than ever before. You've made a comment on your expansion. Many of us call it a blowout, Finger Lakes Times, an eruption, a volcano, and I think the best name yet was powder keg. Hot off the press, Mike just mentioned it, a 65-page engineering report that comes out in a matter of a few days. What's that saying? Going back to the Paul Harvey days, I was born at night, but not last night. When you hear Seneca Metals and you read some of the advertising, it's always about trusted neighbor, valued partner. Valued partner. Your recent decision, I want to say about 6 months ago, Mike, I know you're going to correct me, but I call them 12 or 16 wheelers, the trucks going down. What are the trucks called? The ones that from? Pardon?
18-wheeler.
18-wheeler.
Remember our time limit.
Okay. But your recent decision to have 18-wheelers drive through our community, valued partner, each workday, carrying cover from Seneca Stone to SMI, a total of 7 stoplights. I do have too much time on my hands being retired. First light, Dorrance. Second light, Ovid Street Bridge. Third light, Gould's Pumps. Fourth light, Huntington. I'm gonna give you a mulligan on Gould's. That one is in a red-green. We get up to Kinney's, 5. Give you another mulligan at Bill Cramp, turning yield. KFC, 6, entrance to SMI, 7. 7 times 2, a round trip. 14 times the fumes from the trucks are permeating through our businesses, people on Baird Street, Ovid Street, as well as Fall Street. Help me out if you will. 14 trips, am I high if I say 100 trips between our community, downtown Seneca Falls and SMI?
Yeah, you're high.
I'm high? Okay. It is 70? 70 times 140. Valued partner, why not go up 89 and 316? It's just a request. Trusted neighbor, the town being advised of your application to the New York State DEC on your wish to extend the landfill life until the year 2040. Trusted neighbor, going around the town board, going around the host agreement, and yes, you're gonna sue the town and sue us. Trusted neighbor, you really can't make this stuff up, people. Trusted neighbor? No. Valued partner? No. In ending, I'd like to make a public request to our 5 board members. Steve touched on it a few minutes ago. There is no need to grant an operating permit to Seneca Metals for 2021 or any of the future years between now and its 2025 closure. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We're moving on to approval of the minutes. To help expedite, I'm going to make a lot of motions tonight.
Mike, can I make one?
I'm sorry, Dan, yes, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
please.
Yep, forgot, I'm sorry. I should have had you go before.
Yes, Dan Davis, Seneca Falls, New York, most of you know me. I did have some notes. I'm on pretty much the same subject that's been brought up tonight, the landfill. Now, as I understand it, Governor Como, so I dare use his name, said that he wants to push forward on something that's very important to all of us, that's the smell. If these communities, Outerways, and these trucks can not smell, take care of their own smell, take care of their own food waste before it gets here, that would be an extremely big help to the problem. It's always a problem. 414, sometimes, wow, I avoid it. What are you gonna do? But on the flip side, I've been in Walmart parking lot, and it just about knocks you over. I walked around the corner to the back where all the wood chips and whatnot are stored, and they're set. 2 empty trucks. You could almost see the air above them moving. It was that bad. So, if the governor can force these outlying communities that send this stuff to us to bring in materials that don't smell that bad, I'm trying to think of the best phrase for this, it would be a tremendous help. I would like to see, if this goes forward and becomes obvious, I would like to see this board be a little bit more open. I would like to see, well, people talking have made it pretty open. I would like to see a survey of the people in Seneca Falls, all the residents, and find out their opinion. Now, this is going to have to project into the future. If they can bring back the smell, if they can keep it at a distance, that would be a wonderful thing. Our contract with them is up at 25. They are obviously pushing for another 15. I would like to see the town of Seneca Falls be prepared. It's an obvious conflict. I want to know what's going to happen. I don't want to wait to the last minute. I want legal authorities to tell us what happens when and if. What happens if they suddenly say, what is that, in Article 10? Some businesses can bring in things, and we don't have a lot of say. But then there's just such things as push comes to shove, and there's no place for it to go. And here's the biggest opportunity in New York State. Whether they understand eminent domain. What do we do? I think somebody had better pay attention to the ramifications of the future and be prepared for it. First off, I'd like to know what the town of Seneca Falls thinks. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that are making decisions. We don't always know what they're thinking. I would like to know what the town of Seneca Falls is thinking at all levels. And then I want to make sure that we get told. It better not be kept secret. I want to know what people are thinking. And I also would like to know what would be good questions. If a survey goes out, and I certainly hope it does, what kind of questions? How important is the money? What happens if it doesn't stink anymore? What happens? Let's project into the future. I want to know what people in Seneca Falls are thinking, and then we go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to branch off a little bit there, tonight we're going to hear a small report from our Waste Management Committee that's been working on some of these issues. I don't know if you're aware, on the books 2022 there's a requirement for communities to begin the process of removing their organics from the garbage, which makes up about 40% of most landfills. I don't know if that'll ever be implemented in 2022, because obviously in the 2 years of a pandemic has hurt the financial resources, not only of small communities, but certainly the state. But anyway, we're going to hear from Barb Reese tonight, who represents the Waste Management Committee, talking about Seneca Falls starting our own removal of organics from the landfill. And surveys have been put together by that group, and I won't do any more with that. Okay. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the minutes of the Citizens Advisory Committee of January 12, 2021. Have a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I make a motion we accept the minutes from the public hearing and meeting of February 2nd, 2021. Give a second, please.
Second.
Okay, Dave DeLeas, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And finally, I make a motion we accept the minutes from the special town board meeting dated February 8th, 2021. Have a second for that, please.
Second.
Thank you. Doug Avery, second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Going to reports. Again, I'm going to try to expedite this because some of our reports we have some presentations that I'd like to leave room for them and time, obviously. First of all, I'd like to make a motion we accept the dog control officer report for the month of February. Have a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Don Dyson. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion we accept the zoning officer's report for the month of February. Have a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Don. Any discussion there? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. On that note, in new business, we'll be accepting the resignation of our zoning officer and code enforcement officer, Dean Zettelmeyer. I'll talk about that when we get to that point. I make a motion, we accept the February report for Parks and Recreation. Can I have a second for that, please?
Second.
Thanks, David. Discussion. And when we get to new business, we will be talking about the retirement of our Commissioner of Parks and Recreation. Commissioner, I'm going to give you the opportunity to say anything at this point about your report, nothing more than that.
That's it, huh?
That's it.
I just want to announce.
I'll give you an opportunity when we get to that point.
Okay, thank you.
Anything on the report?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I set out in the hallway, this is like my 262nd meeting, so I think I got it covered everybody here. So I just want to announce to everybody that tomorrow the filters were installed into the fitness room area, so final inspection tomorrow morning sometime. Fitness room should open Thursday morning. We're going to play with the schedule a little bit, but right now the idea would be 8 to 11 with an hour to clean, 12 to 3 with an hour to clean, and 4 to 7 Monday through Thursday. Friday will be closed to give it a good cleaning. Then we'll be open on Saturday mornings for those who need Saturday morning from 8 to noon. We're going to play with that, see how that works. If it gets busy, it may end up coming back to making appointments, but we're hoping that it won't be so busy that we can't accommodate the people who want to use it. Right now, we're limited to 4 users any one given time on alternating machines. So that's certainly good news. We've waited a while to get those filters in and get it up and running, so we're excited about that. Other than that, trying to get set up with the staff before I go to get some more roof information, as well as information on business park renovations. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I make a motion, we accept the Town of Seneca Falls Highway Department report for the month of February. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Second, thank you. Discussion. Highway Department, Mr. Avery?
Okay, I just, is Jim here?
Yes, he is someplace.
The
He's in the fitness center.
I can't see. Oh, there he is. All right. So normally I would have done this, but Mike's trying to move things along. But 2 things that I want to make sure, if he doesn't get mentioned, are that they've done a great job plowing snow this winter. And the second is that the dumping area that was closed last week because of truck problems is now reopened to great rejoicing from the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? No, we're good. Thank you. Any questions or further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. At the highway department, we were closed down because our truck had broke and repairs have been made on that. Okay, I'm going to make a motion. We accept the assessor's report for the month of February. Can I have a second, please? Thank you, David. Discussion. Debbie, anything to add to your report?
No, thank you.
Actually, will you give the same explanation you gave to me for that paragraph?
The paragraph about,
Senior exemptions?
yeah, we're down a few senior age exemptions. The people that lost on the program had unemployment. And the unemployment from the pandemic threw them way over the limit. So just in case you heard scuttle and somebody called you guys at home, that was the reason why.
So they lost their exemption.
Yeah,
But next year,
the bar raised.
the bar gets raised for the amount, so they'll be back in.
Yeah, so we'll have a lot of new applicants that are really old ones.
But there are
And maybe a
people
few
that lost
really
their
new.
exemption this year because of
I think we lost 10 or 12.
she said a few were very angry.
I think we're a little upset. And Kim handles it quite well.
Okay. And we're still waiting to have some discussion about reeval.
Yes, well, I met with Steve today, came in and chatted with me a little bit, and we really need to seriously talk about that. I made a copy and scans to Stephen as well as Don, the 2020 sales with sale prices for the last year as well as the assessed values, just so that they can see how the state will mandate the ratio study. The state sets the EAC rate, and we're going to go down to 84 or 85%. We're currently at 89. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to get that going, okay?
So we need from, whether it's from you or from the committee, but, an idea, most of us have never been through an eval from this end before. What it is, how long it takes, what the steps are, and a timeline, and then best guess as to how much it's going to cost us each year.
Well, it's typically a 2-year budgeted plan because of, it's expensive to hire the appraisal company if we hire out, depending on how much. I don't think we need to redo pictures for every file. There's 406 4,006 parcels. That's everything. That's single-family, multi-families, commercial businesses, vacant land. Of course, we don't have to appraise the vacant lands, but it's a lot of work. Whether, I want to go through every single file with the appraiser. That's
We've been
my
speaking
passion.
hypothetically about this for months, and it's just, whatever has to be done prior to us making the budget decisions for 2022, those things need to be, we need to know what those are, and I don't, never having been through it before. So-
Yeah, as I said, that's why I wanted a recommendation from the committee to bring to the town board with all the things that you're asking for. Absolutely. I know it's a couple-year process, and it's not inexpensive, let's put it that way.
It's between $300,000 and $350,000.
That's the Cadillac version.
We can't get to the point
That
where
is
we're
the
putting,
Cadillac version.
Right.
we can't get to the point where we're putting together next year's budget and realize there are things that we needed to do this year and we didn't do them. And that therefore we wait yet another year.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I'll make a motion that we accept the Seneca Falls Water Sewer Department report for the month of February. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Doug, you want to speak a little bit to that? And then Joe's here if Joe needs any further detail.
You skipped over the attorney.
I know, I always skip over him. When he comes in, he tells me.
More importantly, as long as he's good with that. Yeah, the Water and Sewer Committee met last week. You'll see a resolution later on to give some parts and supplies that we no longer use because of the way we treat water. We're going to sell those to Waterloo for a nominal fee. We've got several water and sewer personnel who have been out doing training, and some, I guess, are very close to getting advanced certifications. We went through a little bit the security questionnaire that comes from Homeland Security and where we are still deficient, what we have to do to get those things up to snuff. And then the projects, the spill containment and so on, we've been talking about on a monthly basis.
So I met with one vendor today, and another one tomorrow for the security. So I'll have estimates before the next meeting.
Okay. And when we look at the engineer report, I think we are moving on a couple of things tomorrow. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Mr.
Oh, I
Mel.
guess so? Okay. So, in addition to the other matters that are on the agenda, I do have something to report, and that's within the past month, the court entered its decision on the matter of our parking local law, which deals with, parking on Fair Street Extension as well as Garden Street. But this was the one where the Cuyahoga Indian Nation filed an Article 78 after the board adopted the law. That Article 78 has been dismissed, so the town's motion to dismiss has been granted. So their action has been dismissed. They have filed a notice of appeal, So that's out there. There could be further proceedings on this decision. However, there's no stay of enforcement, so this is a law on the books, fully enforceable. And but I'll keep you advised as to if there are any further proceedings on this. But for now, town board enacted a local law. It was challenged. That challenge has been denied. So that happened within the past month. That I want everybody to be aware about. That's my report.
Thank you. We'll be hearing from you again, I'm sure. I make a motion, we accept the town court report for the month of February. Have a second, please. Okay, David. I know, Dave, anything to add here?
Yes, I talked to Judge Lackford, they're still waiting to get storage of the records in the metal building. Try to get some of the records down in the metal building.
We were waiting on, and I was waiting on an interpretation. I talked to Judge Laffler this afternoon. He got the interpretation from the 7th Circuit Court. So the current records we have will go back over to Oak Street for the time being. I will be meeting with Aaron tomorrow to see if we can construct something in our records facility at 10 Fall Street. So they all should go there, but they need to be separated out and protected, much like we have a space for the police department. We need to do something similar. So I'll be working on that in the next couple of weeks, okay? I'll keep you informed.
Like the cadence then. Judge Kelly is going to have his first night court Thursday by himself. I guess that's it.
Okay. The courts are back, okay? They are back in full operation as of, I think, about 10 days ago. Okay. Any other questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I make a motion we accept the public safety report for the month of February. Can I have a second for that, please?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments, Chief, or any questions from the board?
Yeah, during my presentation, I did fail to mention one thing. I wanted to thank the Criminal Justice Advisory Board who really spearheaded this whole police reform for all law enforcement in Seneca County. They had a subcommittee that they divided off on, and a bunch of us met, I would say probably at least 10 times before even holding the forums. One person I'd like to personally thank is Rob Shields here. He's in attendance right now. Rob lives in our community. He volunteered his time through this whole police reform process, went to every single public forum, and I consider Rob a friend, so thank you, Rob, for your assistance with that. Next month, I will have my year-end report complete for 2020, and I'll also presenting some officers with some awards for 2020, so that will be at the next board.
What are you, like an auditor in your first life? 3 months later?
Transparency, right?
Oh, bad deal. Okay, any other questions or discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Peter, I make a motion that we accept the engineer report for the month of February. Peter, can I have a second, please? I'm sorry. Thank you. Peter, anything highlight? I know you've got a couple of things we're going to start looking at, right, tomorrow?
Yeah, well, in the projects that Joe was talking about earlier, where they're kicking off the generator project, the generator hopefully will be here in April to get the Auburn power net project closed out. Everything else in the report.
These are projects that have been in the pipeline. I said these are projects that have been in the pipeline.
Oh, yeah, they've been working on for a while, so it's just things are moving forward. I mean, long lead items for ordering equipment's on its way, so now we can actually break some ground and put, get some equipment in.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the grant writing service report for the month of February. Can I have a second, please? Thank you. Emily, any things to add?
I would just confirm that the town was able to submit a Green Innovation Grant Program grant for water meters. I'll let you know what we hear.
Okay. And we're going to start doing something with the police department, right?
Yep, I can start, the traffic study grant came out, and if you'd like me to start with that, I'll start that tomorrow.
Okay. And I'm going to come back to you when we get to Bear Street Culvert. Matt, Emily, you can kind of explain the process for the Brick New York grant stuff, because it's a little different than normal grants type of thing. So we can talk about that. Any questions or discussions? All in favor, please. All in favor of accepting the report, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilman Avery, Seneca Falls Development Corporation.
Yeah, I move that we accept the monthly report for the Seneca Falls Development Corporation in your packet.
Second?
I'll start the discussion. The packet for the board members at least includes a presentation basically of the what they call the 2020 key accomplishments, what's been done by that group. And it's everything from obviously a lot of work with the DRI to they were responsible for the additional signs that they Welcome to Seneca Falls signs. So this is it's quite a document for us to see, and for those of you who are in the public who want to see it, it's on the Seneca Falls Development Corporation website. And if you want to know how to get there, I think there's a link to that from the town website. But this is worth spending a few moments with, especially if you wonder, you keep hearing Seneca Falls Development Corporation and you wonder what the heck they do. This is going to show you exactly what they do, what they've done in 2020. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Accepting the report.
Aye.
Thank you. At this time, we have a Citizens Advisory Committee that has been meeting for the past, I think, 8 months, maybe 7. And the chairperson of that committee is Mr. Jerry Macaluso, and he's here tonight to give us a little overview on a couple of things. I'd also like to recognize and thank some other members of the committee that are here. Charlie Capolino's here, Steve Gleason's here, thank you. Dave Swetson is here, thank you. Chief Capozzi is here, thank you for coming. I hope I didn't miss anybody. But Mr. Macaluso, if you would please give us an update. When I started off the meeting accepting the minutes, we had a special meeting of the Town Citizen Advisory Committee, the Town Board, and it was a joint meeting with a special meeting, and some things came out of that. That was on January 12th and kind of got us to this point. Jerry?
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it very much. For those who do not know me, I'm Jerry Macaluso, as Michael has indicated. I've been a resident of Seneca Falls for almost 40 years. It's kind of interesting. I have all these board committee members here. They're not here to listen to what I'm saying. They're making sure that I don't goof up and go beyond 40 minutes, because I've been known to speak a little bit beyond 5 minutes. What's the...
3 to 5.
3 minutes. I haven't spoken for less than 30 minutes in my life.
You don't say good morning quicker than that.
But again, thank you. Thanks to the town board. In July 2020, the committee on the Citizens Advisory Committee on potential employment of a town manager and or an alternative governance for the town of Seneca Falls was planned, organized, and implemented. The purpose of the committee is quite simple. It is to examine whether or not the town of Seneca Falls has a governance structure that can meet the sustainability, the effectiveness, and the future in terms of the conditions that this particular county will meet. We have met approximately 6 times. Each of those 6 times, were developed to not only gather information in terms of the history of the town of Seneca Falls, but also to examine case studies, specifically the town of Canandaigua, in regards to how they have employed a town manager, other similar towns that may or may not have had a town manager. The purpose was to, again, compare and contrast what we have confronting us to what particular governance we should have to meet those structures. Just a very quick summary. Bottom line, until approximately 2008, we had two distinct forms of government. We had the village of Seneca Falls and we had the town of Seneca Falls. We had a dissolution process. The dissolution process, as we know, dissolved the village of Seneca Falls and we became the town of Seneca Falls. Fortunately or unfortunately, and it has nothing to do with the quality of the individuals who have served on the town board. But what happened overnight was that the demands placed upon the town of Seneca Falls governmental model was huge. All of a sudden, from basically a highway department, assessments, all of a sudden went to a police department, a recreation department, a highway department, and other related departments, all under the same model, which was basically a town supervisor and 4 town board members. We have operated in that fashion until now. And it may be we will operate like this for the foreseeable future. The committee believes that we are at a crossroads in terms of effectiveness and efficiency, in terms of whether or not we can deliver the services that this particular community demands, as well as deliver services to address the future issues that this community will be impacted by. We met, we have discussed, and fortunately, the town board met with the committee. We addressed it in the same way. We said, these are the issues that are impacting us. We're at a crossroads. We have the DRI. We have engineering situations regarding different structure. We have Seneca Metals. We have the Indian Land Trust. We have a number of issues that are demanding a number of items to be basically balanced all at the same time. If we had town board members and the town supervisor that could work 24/7, each of those items would be able to be addressed in an equal manner. But as of this moment, they cannot be, because there simply is not enough time in the day. Supervisor Ferrara, along with the town board members, provide a quality service to this town, above and beyond what most people realize. At the last board or committee meeting, when we had the town board with us, they listened to our presentation, they listened to what the town or the committee had been discussing, and they charged the committee with basically developing or facilitating, is a better term, a couple proposals that would provide them with needed information to make an informed decision relevant to the committee's charge. There have been 2 proposals that we have presented Supervisor Ferrara with, who will subsequently provide it to the town board members for their consideration. Both proposals emphasize how the town of Seneca Falls can benefit from a holistic decision-making process, cost savings, and the potential of an expanded town proposal, or excuse me, a town tax base. Tonight, I haven't been to a town board meeting, unfortunately, in mea culpa, in approximately 2 years.
It's okay, we haven't been to a lot of school board meetings either.
I was happy with that, trust me on that. But it truly tonight, if this agenda is exemplary of what this town board has to encounter on a monthly, let alone a daily basis for Supervisor Ferrara, it's amazing that they accomplish anything at all. Because the bottom line is, those issues that I mentioned, in conjunction with other issues that I have not mentioned, all have to be balanced. They have a juggling act. And unfortunately, we operate in this village not because they want to, but because they have to. And they have to do it in a linear manner. They have to prioritize. They have to basically say, this is the issue that's important at this moment, and perhaps move it out a little bit farther. But in terms of actually, because it was asked by an individual tonight, we would like to know what the future is. Well, in all fairness, if this board had the time and energy, it probably could do that. But at this time, because of the number of issues, it's hard to project. And as a consequence, when you cannot project and you cannot plan accordingly, some things get left behind. And it's not because of anybody's lack of integrity, lack of business, or lack of love of this community. And I think that's the important item to keep in mind. The individuals that are on the board want this community to succeed. That is the number one issue. We may not all agree on what that process should be, but they all want this particular community to succeed. That truly is the charge of this particular community, or committee. It is to examine whether or not the particular governance model enables the town of Seneca Falls to meet the challenges that are not only currently presenting themselves today, but will present themselves in the future. The two proposals that Mr. Ferrara will present, one is a little bit more expansive than the other, but both of them will answer that question, and more importantly, it will provide the town board and the supervisors with the information needed as to whether or not they can go forward and say, yes, this is a great way to examine this town. Are we going to be successful? I urge the town board, and I almost say mea culpa on this one. I never said mea culpa to any board members when I was superintendent. Refused to.
It's because we dropped Latin in school, that's why.
That's right. But you gentlemen, ladies, that are department heads, you have a ton on your plate. And what I'm proposing is not something that is going to say, my gosh, this is really exciting, I gotta get into it. It's not gonna supersede the issue with the assessments. I hear about a $300,000 bill. Seneca Metals, which is extremely important, not only to the financial future of the town, but also to the what I call the quality of life in the town. You just have a number of things that you have to, quite frankly, focus on. But one of the items that I have to ask you to do is focus on the proposals and determine whether or not one of the two proposals will give you the tools that will enable you to do what this community needs. And that is to continue to provide a quality life for not only the generation that we're sitting here, but also the generations that are at the various schools in this proud town. Michael, I leave it to you.
Thank you, sir.
If there's ever anything the committee can do in explaining, amplifying, we will, and I'll make sure I don't talk. I'll give it to somebody else. Thank you, Michael.
Again, Joe, I appreciate everything you and the committee has been doing. So as the board members know, a scope was put together in collaboration with the committee. That they were looking for some specific things to address. And just to mention some of the things that would be in this scope: assess the town's organizational structure and staffing in all departments to determine if the existing operations are appropriate and well aligned to meet the day-to-day needs of the town. Benchmark Seneca Falls organizational structure, budget process, services, expenses, etc. Make recommendations for improvement based on the above analysis. Determine if the town is strategically planning to address key challenges and long-term needs. Identify and outline feasibility changes to the town government structure that would help to address current and future needs. If the town manager model is a viable option, identify how the position could best be structured and implemented. Estimate the full potential cost of a town manager, and identify how the position might be implemented with a neutral or even positive impact on town finances, perhaps through the combination of elimination of other positions, efficiencies, or attrition. Town and department level policies and procedures, organizational chart, staff allocations, a comprehensive listing of services delivered by the town, et cetera, et cetera. As I said, there's a very extensive scope and sequence, and I think this would be a less extensive. So what I'd like to do tonight, I'm going to do it the proper way, I guess. I'm going to make a motion that the town board approves with a comprehensive study of the town efficiency and put that proposal out for an RFP to solicit that study to be completed. And I think they have a second for that motion, please.
Second.
Thank you. So discussion. Okay. With that, then, all in favor, please say aye. 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 So carried. Thank you. I will put together a RFP as quickly as I possibly can. I will find potential companies, organizations that would do this type of work, and I'll probably normally put a 2-week pushback on it or something like that, so we can get started as quickly as possible. Okay, our last committee report is our Waste Management Advisory Committee. As I mentioned earlier, one of the members that is here is going to talk about some really exciting stuff. And I'd like to introduce right now Barb Reese. Barb?
Can I pass out?
Absolutely. You can pass out to everybody?
Well, to the board members.
Oh, to the
There's
board
a
members.
contract, so I thought.
If you wanted to pass out to everybody, I'll help you out.
Yeah.
All right.
Make sure we're, all right, sorry. Would you like to?
What I was going to do, if I just take one for me, and if you want, there's 3 things here. If you're interested, there's pamphlet, food waste, and a contract. If you want to pass them on down. Thank you, Supervisor Ferrara.
Thank you.
I'm glad to be here. Can you hear me? Okay. So my name is Barb Reese, and I serve on the Waste Management Advisory Committee. And I'm here on behalf of the committee to ask the town board to support an organics recycling program in our town. And so the committee has been working for a couple of months, or actually I feel like I've been working on this for years. But I've always been looking for ways to reduce what I send to the landfill, to reduce my waste. I'm a backyard composter, and so I've always wanted to just get more people to recycle their organics. We think that this will help reduce odors at the landfill if we can take food waste out of what we send there. We also know that it would reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It would reduce methane being emitted, that they aren't able to recover all of it. And so we're asking the town board to support this recycling, organics recycling program. And what we'd like to do is have a pilot program. We would use natural upcycling out of Linwood, New York. They have organic, they have biodigesters, and they're anaerobic biodigesters where they take the food waste and manure from their farm, and they break it down in the digesters, and then they recover the biogas, and they can turn it into electricity. And so they're doing that very efficiently, and they are a hauler that will serve, they come right through our corridor. They serve this area. So they are willing to work with us, and they have, I've shared with everybody, there's a contract that we could, that just tells us what the agreement is, and it basically states that, we can try anything, and they're willing to work with us. So what we would like to do is we would like to have like 2 phases of this. And so the idea is that we could have phase 1, where maybe starting April 1st, we could collect food waste from restaurants in the town, right here on Fall Street, right? We could see if the restaurants are interested, collect their food waste, and then that would get picked up by the hauler weekly. And so phase 2 would be that we could introduce, maybe a month later, like May 1st, where we could introduce a food waste drop-off site for town residents. And so that would be what we've been discussing. A drop-off site could be at the town highway department at the barn, where there's drop-off services now. So we've been trying to put together some surveys where we could see what restaurants are interested and what residents would be interested. And so I would like permission from the board. I guess what we're asking for is we're asking for you to support this pilot program with paying for the fee, right? The fee, actually, the way the service works is that the company would set us up with totes, however many we want for that. It's $150 to set up the program, and then they charge you $15 per tote per service. So if they come just once a week and you fill 4 totes, it would be 4 times $15, and that's how it runs. And so we thought by starting just on a small scale with the restaurants, we could kind of see how it's going, how contamination is, and see how it goes, and then we could open it up to town residents. This we would be offering free, if we're able to town residents. We decided that might be an incentive for people.
Yeah, so I think just to expand a little bit, our goal would be to have all of our residents participate. The town, if they approve, the board approved of supplying a 1-gallon container to residences, and then a location, a couple, maybe 1 or 2 locations, they would be responsible to empty the container. We're not talking about curbside pickup at this point. We're talking about the ability to remove your organics from solid waste. So I'm excited. It's the environmental approach to solid waste, and I'm really hopefully we can get a lot of participation as we move forward. As I said, this supposedly is supposed to be happening in 2022 statewide, but we don't know if that's going to happen. I took the survey today. It probably didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Probably didn't go anywhere, though, I know.
It goes to me. I will read it. Thank you.
Yeah, so I don't know, Doug, you have anything to add?
Yeah, well, you know, and the 2022 law is going to start with big producers first. So you're not by law going to be forced to recycle your organics yet, okay? But what there will be, as Barb said, you can see it right here. I mean, it's just basically a garbage tote, just like the ones that we have. I don't know if natural upcyclings are really yellow, but that's nice. There won't be a stinking pile of kitchen scraps at the highway garage. So that's for Jim. There would be 3 or 4 of these, and they would be, natural upcycling would come every week and empty them. It's as simple as that. We realize that like any recycling program, it's probably going to start slowly. And you know, once we get to the part where we have residents taking part, there's going to have to be some education involved, certainly as far as what you can put in it, but also on how important it is that you take part. And we'll gradually, hopefully, raise our numbers to the point where we've got a really, really effective program, and we in our little corner of the world have done our bit to eliminate organics from the garbage cycle. So it is very exciting, and it's you know, not terribly expensive. It's something, you know, all the things that we do, this is really up there on the list of things we ought to do.
Okay, so with that, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the waste management recommendation to begin our organic removal process for the town of Seneca Falls. Can I have a second for that, please?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion or questions?
I still don't know if we need more specific.
Again, I don't know. Do I have to include some monetary basis in there?
Well, yes, you have a contract. It does call for, and there's nothing, I have no problem with any of the contract, with entering into the contract. It does call for the one-time fee of $150, and then $15 per tote per pickup. So, if you, so just, if somebody, so I'm thinking something in the order of, I don't know, 4 or 5 totes, and they can be picked up.
Probably, I don't even think we need that many. Right while we're talking, maybe
It would, I think.
one in the Sackett district and 2 or 3, yeah, maybe 4 or 5.
Well, remember, they will give us, I think they bring 4.
And that comes with it.
If you,
Okay.
yes, and if
Okay.
you don't use them, you don't use them, right? It's however many you actually.
Right. So if I just change the motion that
So we start with 4, and we have, you figure, what are we talking about, weekly?
Yeah.
So between now and the end of the year, how many weeks have we given up this year?
We've given us 12, so there's about 40 left.
So you got 40 left?
40 times
60 bucks? Yeah, so add
2,400.
2,400. And include the 150 with that? If you call it $2,500 and allocate $2,500 for this program and enter into this contract, I think we'd be fine.
All right, so Nikki, can you scratch that motion?
Sure.
Okay, I'm sorry.
There.
I'd like to make a motion that we enter into a contract with Natural Recycling for the beginning of collection of organics, not to exceed $2,500 for the fiscal year 2021. I have a second for that one.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussions or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
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 So carried. Okay, Mark, thank you. We're on our way.
Thank you very much.
If I got to sign a contract, let me know.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Okay,
150 bucks. 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 150
Board members, you received something I mentioned earlier when we were going over, during the petitioners. So SMI has made application, obviously, with the DEC, and to expand the landfill in the center part of the landfill. And again, I think it's important that the town has our engineer for SMI making sure that everything is being followed, and also I want to make sure that everything is, the permits being processed and they're preparing any comments for the town. So I need a motion for that to happen in board approval. So I'll make a motion that, I'll make a motion that approve B&L to provide technical review service for the SMI expansion application process. Can I have a second for that, please?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion or comments?
Yeah, I'd only like to comment that it seems a little contrary to get engaged with it in this process when this board passed a resolution, I believe in December, requesting that the DEC immediately deny their permit application. So based on the fact that we've done that, I'm certainly not going to support this, because the permit should be, this board wants it denied by the DEC. If anything, we should pass another resolution tonight, sending a second request to the DEC, since I don't believe we've heard anything from them.
I don't think the DEC is just going to flatly deny it. There'll be there's a process, a seeker review process and a public comment process. I don't think they're just going to flatly reject it without going through the entire process of the permit.
I think they could. I think they could choose to send it back and ask for a clear renovation, and that is that they revise it to fall within the constraints of what's currently on the books, and that is that you're closing in 2025, not 2040. I believe the DEC could do that, absolutely.
Okay. Other comment?
Yeah, I'm going to approach it from a slightly different standpoint. I think it's a good idea if we have Bartonell and Judas monitor what's going on as far as the application and the accuracy and so on. But when it comes to developing the town's response, that's, basically that's what we did last month. We responded. And that's not an engineering decision. Our response will take into account the engineering, the environment, the economic, and we'll have a response. So as far as keeping tabs on what SMI is doing in that application, I think that's a great idea. But I would stop well short of having B&L or anybody craft our response to the application once it's completed.
Okay. And again, this is the recommendation of our environmental attorney, David Howe, so forth. Okay.
Do we have that resolution in front of us, what you just proposed?
Do you have it? No, you don't have it in front of you. I just got this today in an email.
Well, then,
Okay, no problem. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I move, since you just got that today in an email, and I don't have it in front of me, nor does anybody else on this board, that this...
You have the email, though, right, that was sent through?
I did not see that today.
It came late this afternoon.
I don't know what time it came, but that came...
And it's not my packet, it should be...
No, it's not, it's in the pack, I think that you added to the package, didn't you? The email from Peter?
From Peter, yes, it was added to the packet.
Yeah.
Peter did it this afternoon and emailed it to me, and I put it in the packet. That was your add-on that I gave you tonight.
Well, I would argue that, so yeah, I do have it here, haven't had a chance to review it. First, I would like to propose that we table this till next month to discuss this particular resolution.
We have a motion to table the resolution that I made. Have a second, please?
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, David's email came in at 4:11 this afternoon. We met here for a 5:30 meeting, so we need time to absorb both of it. I know Peter's thing was a little bit earlier, but we need time to absorb this.
No problem. All in favor of the motion to table it to April, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Carried. I think that's everything there. Okay, just want to make note for the town, the town clerk, we have 5 communications. Tax clerk receiver audit from the year ending December 31st from the Bandana Group of 2019. Minutes of the Heritage Preservation Commission meeting, January 26, 2021. Minutes of the Town Planning Board meeting dated January 28, 2021. Minutes of Zoning Board, January 28, 2021. And checks and deposits totaling $5,569,555.95, which represents obviously collection, but the large part of that is tax collection, property tax collection. Do we have the motion to accept the communications? Executive. Anyway, we can do that. Have a motion to accept the communications for March, or no, I'm sorry, for February?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Do we have to, you guys want to do anything with the old business, town demands, and related to SMI license and permit?
We forgot sale of surplus property.
I'm sorry?
Sale of surplus property.
I'm sorry.
The whole business you have.
Oh, yeah. Yep, thank you. Sale of surplus property, we have nothing to report there.
Well, we do
We do and we don't.
We do have the board needs to decide if there are some rehabilitation of property at 115 to be done prior to the transfer of title to that property. And the board needs to decide, is that something that's going to be handled in-house? Is that something we're going to request proposals for a local contractor to do? Or
We talking about 115?
talking about 115?
Is the paperwork been signed?
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah. That was what we talked about last month.
No, we signed the paperwork, but I mean, is that, so the deal has been finalized?
No. What was agreed to was that they had a list from their.
We had to fix certain things.
We have to fix certain things. So
Okay.
we have to fix certain things.
Well, I can't paint outside at this time of the year, so are you saying that the sale won't go through until it's painted outside?
Well, we have things inside we got to take care of too.
I understand that.
Just wanted to
And
get the ball rolling, keep
there's
the ball-
plumbing, and there's some painting, and there's painting outside. It's not gonna happen probably until May. Is the sale gonna be held up until May?
Well, if they'll agree to do it, hold something back for that purpose or something, but we have these other things that we can do.
Yeah.
That I'm asking the board, how are we gonna do this?
To fix the things inside?
Yeah.
It'll all be done by town employees.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, so I just asked that happen and.
Hasn't happened yet.
I need to,
It will happen.
Okay.
Pardon? I'm sorry.
I said to the, they're gonna be painted.
Okay.
I'm just trying to keep the ball moving.
I'm on the ball.
I gotta report back to folks on the other side.
Okay.
Make sure that they know that things are moving on.
Got it. Okay. All right. Anything else?
No.
Great. Baird Street legal update. I don't know. I don't have any legal update on that. But I guess that would be a really good time to. We talked about applying for Bridge New York grant that would see if we would get that, and if we were able to get up to $1 million for this project, then I think the board would probably be less reluctant to move forward with the project. And again, Bridge New York is a little different. Well, it's a lot different. So I'm going to have you guys explain, because I'll mess it up.
So the difference between how we would, as you all know, we do have a procurement, we do have a term services agreement to write grants on behalf of the town. Bridge New York requires specific procurement for development of the grant application, particularly when there's design and engineering work to be done associated with that. So what we're recommending, we think there are actually two, Supervisor, is that right? Two applications here, a bridge application for Veterans Bridge and a culvert application for the Baird Street culvert. So we would recommend that the board issue a request for proposals to write each of those grants, to write a grant application for the Baird Street culvert and for the Veterans Bridge.
Yeah, excuse me, I'm sorry, can I interrupt you?
Certainly.
Just so people know, the Veterans Bridge, Rumsey Street Bridge, that has been a project that's been kicked down the road for 5 years, Jim?
At least.
At least. Work needs to be done on the bridge at the expansion joints, and every year the DEC flags the issue, and also if it continues, you're talking about deteriorating of the metal and erosion, more erosion, etc. So it really needs to be addressed. We did not get a grant a while ago. I think we've been denied twice, maybe, or once.
We've been denied twice.
Twice. Okay. So, but again, I think we need to apply for it, and if we're going to get it, I really think we need to think about fixing it. It might have to be done without grant money, but I don't think we should continue to kick that can down the road. I don't know if you can remember when Bridge Street Bridge was closed down for 3-4 years, and the impact that had on the town of Seneca Falls. I can't imagine Rumsey Street being closed down for any length of time. So I just want to make sure that when Matt's talking about Rumsey Street Veterans Bridge, everybody knows what that's about. Okay, Matt.
Sure. So we're just recommending that you issue two requests for qualifications, one for the Rumsey Street Bridge application and one for the Baird Street Culvert improvement project. With both of those RFPs, you can build in to the request for proposals a request for the option to do design and engineering work associated with the project. So we would recommend that you issue both of those RFPs with those optional services.
You said RFP, but then you said request for qualification.
Yeah, I use them interchangeably. They're not necessarily interchangeable.
I'm not sure I've ever heard qualification.
Yeah, so you could request for proposals would typically ask for price. With the proposal request for qualifications, you don't have to ask for price. You can base the decision solely based on qualifications. We don't have a recommendation either way on that. The DOT doesn't specify either. So, the board has typically issued a request for proposals, and you can issue it that way so that you get pricing on both.
And the reason, correct me if I'm wrong, with the Bridge New York, there's language that whoever writes the application, unless there's some stipulation in the proposal, then the state wants the same people writing the application to do the work.
So, because there are federal dollars, these are federal pass-through dollars to the Bridge New York program. Because there are federal dollars at play, there's federal procurement rules at play, and so if you are going to perform engineering services related to this application, the federal government, by virtue, the state government wants to know that up front. So they'd rather you just put it right in the request for proposals that states we are, as the town, retaining the option to retain you to do those design services. It doesn't compel you to do that.
So it gives us a better bang for our buck type of thing. We're not automatically giving it to who writes the application. It's, okay, now you're going to write the application, and then we're going to put an RFP out for the actual work itself.
I just heard two different things.
So,
I think, didn't I? Did you? I mean, I heard that whoever writes the application has to do the work.
No, sir. You, by virtue of this request for proposals, you can build into the request for proposals the option for the town to retain you to do the work. It does not compel the town to do that. So what some towns will do is say, we would like you to submit both a price for the application and for the design. And then if you like both, you keep both. If you only like the application price and you want to wait on design, you can wait. What it doesn't allow you to do is to issue a request for proposals for a grant application and then say, nah, we like this guy, we're going to keep him on for the design. The design has to be competitively procured. So what this does is gives you the option to procure both at the same time. You don't have to use it. So I'll give you an example. Emily Palumbo's Engineering shows up and says, I'd like to write you a grant application. She writes you a grant application, you win, you say, we love Emily, let's just give her the design work. The DOT is going to say, no, you didn't competitively procure the design work, so you're going to have to go out to bid for design work. The best way to say this is that if you build in this option up front, then it gives you flexibility to retain the firm or to say, to heck with it, we're going back out and looking for another engineer.
So it's essentially a two-step process.
It is. It is. This just allows you to turn 2 steps into 1, or you don't have to.
Or you can just leave it a two-step process.
You bet you can.
RFPs for the grant, the application grant, and then if you get the grant, then I would think, go out for RFPs to do the design and the.
You absolutely can do that.
We gotta get the grant first.
You bet.
Okay? So I'll do an RFP for the application process. Okay? Yes, Dave?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What did you say? Oh, forget it. I picked up on it now. Okay, Kingdom Road Sewer Main update. I don't think I have an update or anybody has an update, but I think we ought to come back to that. I think we ought to go to part F. So we tabled engineering services. We need to appoint a town engineer tonight. We tabled that back in February. There was a special board meeting where an interview was done with one of the engineering firms, MRB, and that was a Zoom interview by the board members. And so we're back tonight. So Pat, I'm not familiar. How do we have to take it off the table, or take it off the chair, or put it on my couch? How do we do that?
You could just do a simple motion if this is
Motion to appoint.
Somebody could, would you hear me? If somebody wants to make a motion, we do that, then you'll have something else back on the table.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion. Well, Doug, you made a recommendation when we afterwards. I don't remember what you said. So the original motion was that we appoint MRB as the town engineer.
That's the one that was tabled.
That was the one on the table. So I bring that motion up.
Bring that back, it still need to be seconded.
Okay, so I make a motion that we appoint MRB Engineering Services to be the town engineer for the 2021 fiscal year. Have a second for that, please. No second on the motion.
I'll make a motion, we appoint Barton LaJudas as town engineer.
Second.
I second it.
You second what, buddy?
Can you hear me?
Huh?
Can you hear me?
No, I didn't hear you. You second what? I'm sorry.
I second it.
So the motion is that the original. Correct. That was sorry. So the original motion, I'll say it again, is that we appoint the MRB engineering group as the town engineers. You second that, Don?
Yes.
Okay. Now we can hear you. No problem. Discussion.
We have an unusual type of meeting here, Steve, and do you make an allowance for somebody? You know, a motion was made, it was not seconded, then another motion was made, and it was seconded, and then we chime in from a remote location here to second the original motion that had gone by. You know, how tightly we run this, you know, because, you know, how does the board want to do this?
The discussion, the thing that you're going to be saying, regardless of which way we go, and I'd like to get us to that point, so if it helps, I'll withdraw my second from Steve's motion.
And you know, I think that we want to do that in deference to the fellow board member and the technology that we all have to deal with, then, you know, that would certainly be one way to do it.
Okay. So just so we're clear, we have a motion and seconded by Don. Now discussion.
Although, this is difficult because I have a great deal of respect for both companies. I have a great deal of respect for the personnel that we know from both companies. And after the meeting with MRB, the Zoom meeting, it was things, you know, they made us a great offer. But there are things going on with the town and MRB that to me just are very difficult to overlook. And I think it's a question of the cart getting before the horse somehow. But last July, at a special board meeting, we approved an agreement with MRB, and this is right off the agenda, for zoning and code enforcement audit rewrites not to exist $15,000. And then from the minutes of that meeting, Mr. Farrar stated our codes are outdated. When the town and village merged, things were kind of put together, and our town and planning and zoning boards were having difficulties with new development coming through. He said that he, the chair of the planning board and the zoning board, Dave DeLalis and MRB met last week, had a discussion. Everyone's in favor of doing some codification of our current codes. Mr. Farrar stated that MRB will do that process and come back to the board with recommendations. In the meantime, in today's packet, both the planning and the zoning minutes have the same paragraph where Lance Brabant, I don't know the pronunciation, Director of Planning Board and Environmental Services from MRB Group, introduced himself and his colleague, Jane Nicholson, certified planner, blah, blah. So they will provide a technical review of the application of this applicant and assist with the seeker process. And we're paying MRB to do something, it appears, that they weren't authorized by this group to do. And so
that's completely not true. I don't know what you're looking at. I don't know where you got the information. That's completely not true.
Mike, I'm looking at the agenda from that July meeting.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at the minutes from that.
I'm not saying that's not true.
Then wait a minute, please. And then I'm looking at the planning and zoning minutes that we got in tonight's packet.
Yep.
So you're saying some of this information is incorrect?
Correct. The part where you said we're paying for it, that's the part that's...
I signed the voucher today. We signed a voucher for, shoot, I got it. And it is not grant writing. Signed a voucher for $3,966.76. That's some mileage from Matt. It's 1 hour, it's 27 hours from a senior planning associate and 1 hour from a project manager.
Did the town clerk inform you that the company that we're doing this work on the proposal for 414 North project, did the town clerk inform you that the company Rev has made a $6,000 deposit in escrow to cover the expenses?
Yes, she did, and that's the other part of my concern. We're handling money from Revling to MRB. It's going through us.
They make the escrow deposit with the town, okay? MRB is working on the project, because we don't have a code enforcer, we don't have a zoning officer, and this is a very complicated project with a secra and zoning change, et cetera, et cetera. So MRB is helping the planning board, because we have nobody qualified to do that, is helping the planning and zoning board, and you can talk to people that are here from the planning board. Dan, you can talk to Dan. They're helping them
I
facilitate.
don't dispute that they're being helpful, I dispute the fact that that's not what they were hired to do by the town board. They were
Correct.
hired to examine our codes and get back to us with a report. They were
Correct.
not hired to see somebody's application through the process. Doesn't mean, I'm not saying it's not helpful to them. I don't understand why Rebling is not paying MRB directly, why get us involved? But
Because MRB is going through helping with the review process from the town's responsibility.
well then, there you said it, and that's not what they were paid to do. They're paid to look at our codes and get back to us with a report. There is no report, there's no evidence. This is not looking at our codes to see how up to date they are.
Okay.
This is
so-
doing something very, very different, well, however valid it might be.
But it's not costing the town one nickel.
But I said, I've got concerns about us being some sort of money vehicle for Rebling. I don't
But
understand that.
if you know the planning and zoning regulations, if somebody comes to the town for a project, and I think Ed can probably fill you in, that then they are responsible for the charge, attorney fees, or if there's engineering reports or anything like that. The client is responsible, in this particular case, Rev, is responsible for those type of expenses.
Right, let them pay it.
So the code requires that they pay you.
No, that part of it is not unusual. That part of it is right in our code that the applicant is responsible for paying for the town's, if the town engages experts and in the field to review the application for the town. That part of that is not unusual at all.
Yes.
Right, I'll accept that. But I still, even at some point, and I don't know who's pushing here, but at some point, the job went from something that they were hired to do that hasn't been done apparently, to something else, and there's no.
The first part of that is all the zoning amendments that we've made, that the board, you all have made in the past year.
That's what Doug's concern is that I had MRB doing stuff to help this project, this REV project, get through the planning and zoning process.
I understand that, but I wanted to say that the first part has happened. Jane has been very helpful to the town, has met with Dan, got together and came up with certain zoning amendments, which have since been enacted.
In a new process.
Yeah.
In a new process
So
for.
we've had regular committee meetings, mostly coordinated by Jane from my MRB, and she has been tremendously helpful in getting that together, and it's ongoing.
As a matter of fact, I think we'll be coming back in April. I'm not quite sure how the two are related, but anyway, I understand your issue. I'm not quite sure how it's related to appointing a town engineer. Okay, I'm a little confused on that. But just as a side note, we'll be coming back in April to extend the planning and zoning board members would like to continue the process of reviewing our codes and so forth, but that'll be a different issue. Okay, I'm not quite sure how the two are connected, of appointing a town engineer and what happened with this planning and zoning issue. I'm not sure how they're connected.
I just think that all of this makes it very difficult, as much as I respect Matt and Emily and MRB, to support that motion tonight.
I don't understand the connection.
Well, I mean, another point was last month, we had a resolution before us that, and maybe it was related, but said that the seeker was prepared by the town engineer, MRB, right in the resolution, when they weren't our town engineer. I mean,
they didn't prepare a seeker.
Well, the resolution last month
which was,
Referred
again,
to MRB.
we're talking about the seeker for the water meter grant? That's what you're referring to?
Is that the one? Yeah. But I mean, there was
Which
a
has been changed.
resolution that had MRB, parenthesis, town engineer. They prepared the seeker, and they are our town engineer.
I understand that, and that issue was brought up, that was I don't know, Emily?
Well, I think that speaks to what Doug is saying as well. I mean, Barton and Judas is our town engineer, but it seems like MRB is already doing some of our work. And
I don't think MRB is doing any of our engineering work. Nothing. They're doing grant work, but they're not doing any of the engineering work. B&L currently is doing all of our engineering work.
Prepare to seeker.
It's part of the grant.
The
It was
seeker
part of
was
the grant.
required for the grant.
Green infrastructure.
The seeker was required for the green infrastructure grant. And we're working with Barton and Judas to complete it. It wasn't moving on the timeline that it needed to move, and so we facilitated its completion.
Going back to our discussion, again, and I've said this on numerous occasions, I think the two engineering firms are equal, okay? I think they have a level of expertise comparable. MRB used to be the village's engineer for many years, and understands the infrastructure issues that we have that are our infrastructure issues are in the old village. For me, it comes down to nickels and dimes. No, it comes down to thousands of dollars. That's what is the issue, okay? As we found out, our charges are significantly less, and other services being provided in MRB's proposal totaling over $20,000 is very significant. So mine comes down to a financial decision and nothing more. Further discussion. Don, Dave, anything? Don, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, anything else on your end?
No?
Okay, Dave?
I still like to stay with B&L.
Well, we're going to vote here in a second. I'm just asking if there's any more further discussion. With that, all in favor of appointing MRB Group as the town engineers, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, please say no.
No.
Steve, I didn't hear your vote? No. I'm sorry.
No.
No? Okay. So that motion was defeated 2 to 3, or 3 to 2, I guess, whatever way it is. Okay. I'm assuming one of you are going to make a motion to appoint a town engineer at some point?
Motion, we appoint Barton and Judas as town engineer.
Second.
Discussion. Dave, anything to add on this motion?
B&L.
Okay, well, we haven't voted on it yet, but when we get there, you can vote. Any other further discussion? Again, I'll make my point again. I will oppose this motion because finances, you people are making decisions that are costing the taxpayers of this community extra money for no reason at all. Absolutely no reason at all. You're costing the taxpayers of Seneca Falls more money. And I want everybody in this room to understand that. They are spending your money for absolutely no reason at all. Zippo.
Like you can say that, and it's subjective.
Go ahead, Dave.
We don't know how much is going to be spent on either one.
We certainly do. We certainly do. We certainly know that what the hour rate for one firm is and what the hour rate is for the other one, and we certainly know what additional services we're getting that we are paying for. So we certainly know. And the only time you use a town engineer is when you have an engineering issue. Okay? So we certainly know. And we agreed before that when projects come up, okay, then we are going to put them out to RFP. we've said that, I don't know if you changed your mind on that, but we've put them out for bid so that, again, the taxpayers are getting the best value for their dollar. So if you had 5 engineering firms that are qualified, you're putting them out to bid to see what the lowest price is. Okay? So we certainly know what we're talking. Doug, you were saying something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's subjective, but it's not for no reason at all. I don't know who's pushing, but for some reason, MRB has been brought in to do things, and you know, if it's simply a question that we weren't told that this money was being shifted from one place, one task to another, then we weren't told, but we weren't told. So there's something that has to be sorted out about the relationship between the town of Seneca Falls and MRB Group before I'm willing to go forward. I don't doubt them, I don't doubt their resources and capabilities and so on, but there's something wrong, strange, odd, whatever, out of sorts with this relationship, and the cart's way before the horse. And so it's for my part, it's going to have to wait.
There's nothing strange, there's nothing odd. If you want to blame somebody, don't blame a firm that I said, this project has been sitting on somebody's desk now for 5-6 months, and the developer wants to get the project moving. And if something doesn't happen quickly, they're going down the road. So in the interest of development in Seneca Falls, I didn't have the expertise to make this project happen. I reached out to MRB for their help. Jane Nicholson I reached out to, who's been working with planning and codes to help in this process. That's all it is. Don't blame MRB. It's me. If you want to blame somebody, but
if it's a lack of communication, then yes, like it's you.
You're trying to save money. You're not doing anything. You're trying to save the taxpayers' money.
yes, that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do. That's my only goal, okay? But anyway, I think I'm about as open as anybody can possibly be as far as communication, Doug. I'm sorry. I have every email I've sent out to all of you folks, and this was in conjunction with what was going on with planning and development, and it wasn't costing the town one nickel, okay? If it was costing the town any money, I would have said, we need to make a decision on how we can move forward, but it's not costing the town any money. So that's why I just move forward with it. Sometimes I just had to do that. Anytime it costs money, you know as well as I do that you're informed. You're informed. I don't spend any money without somebody's approval. Okay? Okay. Enough is spent. I gained my position. So any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion to appoint VNL as the town engineer for the 2021 fiscal year, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say no.
No.
No. That's carried 3-2. And again, Peter, Matt, Emily, we're all professionals. Okay? We are all professionals, and this is never personal. You know that, Peter, as well as anybody, right? In The Godfather, remember in The Godfather, the famous scene, The Godfather, and Michael tells Sonny, Sonny, this is not personal, this is business, okay? Okay. All right, so now moving back up to the Kingdom Road, I think it's time that we formally make a decision. We've made a decision conceptually. Now I'm going to make a motion that we have VNL prepared RFP for the Kingdom Road sewer main update, or sewer main project. Can I have a second for that, please? Second. Discussion. Okay, we conceptually agreed that the project has to be done. Now our town engineer is in place. They should be writing an RFP for this work, design work, and for the project itself. Any questions? Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carried 5-0. Peter, can we get started on that, please? Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, back in February, I brought to you, as a request of board members, some type of a notification system throughout the town. I did the research, I brought you a proposal for $2,000, code red. Councilman Churchill wanted me to check with the county, which I did. I talked to Melissa Taylor, who is the emergency director for the county, and she said, no thank you. Okay? Our notification system is the 911 notification system. We're not interested in implementing, we're not interested in facilitating. Thank you, and that was my report back. So I'd like to make a motion that we employ Code Red Service as a notification program for the town of Seneca Falls. Can I have a second for that, please?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion.
Yeah, who will administer the service?
I'm sorry?
Who will administer the service within the town?
They administer it, and then people will be designated. Joe Tulo will be a designated report or person who would be able to put out messages. Jim Peterson would be a person that would be designated to put out messages. Certainly any board member, if you'd like to have rights to do that, certainly have it. I will have to be doing some things, you know, for the town clerk, for example. Believe it or not, people really get nervous when their garbage doesn't get picked up on the exact day and hour every day that's supposed to be picked up. Sometimes we can, Brad, I have to speak loud because I have a mask on and people can't hear me, okay? If I'm speaking too loud for you, move over. But anyway, we have to, and I got people on Zoom, Brad, okay? Anyway, just something as simple as that, you can push out a notification, like the landfill closed the last couple of days because of high winds. It has an effect on your garbage pickup. You know, just a notification that you can designate to a certain district that the garbage was supposed to be picked up. We're going to be delayed a day. It would save Nikki 1,000 phone calls. And me. That's what would administer it. Police chief would obviously have rights, type of things. Okay? Any other questions or discussion? All in favor of that, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. Holy moly. Any special events to approve or new business?
Nope.
Thank you. Nikki, I don't know what budgeted contribution support of Finger Lakes Television is.
Okay, that is,
Oh, I gotta go back to my file, I'm sorry. Carried away from there. I'm gonna pull this back out of here.
what they do is they broadcast our meetings.
Right.
And we give them that.
Okay, so basically it's an invoice. Thank you for your town's continuing support for Finger Lakes Television. The only option for those who wish to exercise freedom of expression via the cable broadcast system. FLTV makes continual improvements to serve its communities. Seneca Falls Town Board meetings are now available on demand. Blah, blah, blah. This invoice letter requests payment for the following service. Support for the operation of Finger Lakes TV to allow for broadcast of local programming in 2021. And the amount is $2,100 budgeted. Steve, can we do this cheaper someplace?
This is on TV.
No?
Cable TV?
That's
It's
the
on
best,
cable
that's the
TV.
cheapest way?
The only place.
Okay. The only way? Okay. All right.
Does it have to be on TV?
Pardon me?
Does it have to be on TV? It's already on the internet.
It's on the internet. I don't know. Have to be on TV?
Finger Lakes TV puts it on the internet.
Some people don't have computers.
Now, the older people don't want.
I'd love to know how many, Kathy, you have any idea how many people watch it on TV for $2,100?
I don't, but they also have it on their website. They run the whole meeting. We only get 2 hours on TV, but they run the whole meeting, no matter how long, on their website. And you can search and see prior meetings like that.
And you put it on YouTube as well?
I am doing that myself
You're
because...
doing that yourself, at
Yeah.
no expense.
No.
So can't you watch YouTube on your phone or on the computer?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So, as I said, I don't know why we have to continue to have it on TV for $2,100. When it's out there on YouTube, and I think everybody who wants to watch a town meeting can watch it on their computer or their phone. I think that's pretty much universal. That's just my part of the discussion.
Well, senior citizens don't do what they watch TV.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion or comment? Nikki said some of the older people like to watch it on TV. I used to watch Alex Trebek on Jeopardy, but then it's not happening anymore. So, type of thing.
You're not obligated to have it on back
Obligated to.
I remember this every year. I get a kick out of it.
We're obligated to, I believe.
Not obligated to be on television.
Television. We're obligated to.
Most town boards are not.
I get a kick out of the fact they ask for a donation to send us to do it.
No, this is a yearly thing.
We haven't taken a vote yet.
Actually,
$2,100.
We haven't taken a vote yet.
it's a donation fund, actually.
Okay.
That's when you donate.
Okay. So it's all about money for me. Anyway. So, all in favor of expending $2,100 so we can watch ourselves on TV at Finger Lakes TV? Huh?
We don't have a motion yet.
We don't?
Not that I can see.
Then I'll make a motion that we expand. I made a motion that you were going to resign from the board. You second that? Okay, I make a motion that we spend $2,100 for Finger Lakes TV to broadcast 2 hours only of our going on 3-hour meeting, okay? For $2,100. Dave, second that. Any further discussion?
I'm fine, we should pay it this year, but look at before we get to next year.
I'm sorry, Doug.
Oh, sorry. I think we should pay it this year, but look seriously at not at discontinuing this relationship, if we can. My impression was that it was some sort of public service, public broadcast obligation we had to. But if we don't, we don't.
Any other question or discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Dave, aye. Doug, aye. Steve? Aye. Don? Oh, no. Mike, no. That motion is carried 3-2. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the police reform and reintervention plan as presented tonight by Chief Keenstra. Can I have a second for that? Thank you. Any further discussion? I'm not even going to ask you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's carried 5-0.
Mike, there's a resolution there should be, I believe.
Oh, geez, I'm getting away from myself. I'm sorry. I never read the whole resolution. You want me to read this? You don't want me to read this, do you?
It's up to Pat if it has to go in.
I'm going to defer to Pat and say I don't have to. Do I have to read the whole
Does
resolution?
everybody have it in front of them?
Should.
Yeah.
So you can, if everybody has it, you know, understand what you're voting on, you could just hit the highlights.
No, I'm not. I don't have the, this is the water meter resolution. Oh, I got it. Highway Department. Okay, I got this, and this. This is all I got. Highway Department, is it attached to the highway? You guys have the resolution in your
I
packet?
don't see it.
I don't see it either.
Should be on my department letterhead. Hopefully,
We don't have it.
Do you have it with you?
no.
All right. Who's going to tell the governor?
We don't have it.
Pat, I need some legal advice.
Yeah, we need a motion.
Okay.
We need a,
I made a motion, second it.
I mean, if it's a motion to this.
Where did it come from? I mean, that's,
Is the motion simply to accept the new plan?
Yeah.
I think something of that nature would be sufficient. To
That's
accept
right.
the plan presented this evening.
So I made a motion to accept the plan as presented tonight by Chief Feenstra for the reform, police reform, and Dave DeLay is seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. I make a motion I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation of Dan Babbitt from the Waste Management Committee. Can I have a second for that, please?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to thank Dan for his volunteerism on the committee, and thank him for all his time and efforts going forward. And wish him, make it part of the record, please, nothing but the best. I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Virginia Cox to the Waste Management Committee to complete the term of Dan Babbitt. Can I have a second for that one, please? Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Carried. I'd like to make a motion that we reappoint Frank Seneca to the Assessment Review Board. Can I have a second for that, please?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the letter of retirement from James Spina, Commissioner of Parks and Recreation. Dear Mike, please accept this communication as a formal notice of my intent to retire from my position as Commissioner of Parks and Recreation for the town of Seneca Falls, effective March 15, 2021. I want to thank you and the current town council, as well as previous supervisors and councils, for their support and the many opportunities afforded me throughout my 22 years as commissioner. I can honestly say it has been the privilege of a lifetime to serve the residents of this community, and I am so thankful for their commitment to recreation and their never-ending focus on giving residents, especially the children, positive experiences throughout their lives. Seneca Falls, without question, is the flagship recreation program in the area, and I am so proud and honored to have been part of it for so long. Thank you again, and best of luck to you and the town council going forward. Sincerely, James J. Spina. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Jim? Now, Jim, you can say your piece.
Now's the time. I just want to repeat what I said in the letter of retirement, that to have spent 22 years here has been truly the privilege of my career. And I just want to thank everybody here. There's so many people that I have such great relationships with, the department heads and town council, my mother-in-law, who's showed me how to be professional every day. I watch her do her thing, and she taught me so much. And Pat has been a great advisor, and so many people, Sue, in the years you served. And I don't really know what else to say other than thank you, because sometimes things work out in your life and change the things you do. And I wasn't looking for a job. I certainly wasn't. It just kind of fell in my lap and came to me, and gives me the opportunity to move closer to my girls and to hopefully be a next door grandpa instead of a 800-mile away grandpa, and my wife to go with us. And so I just want to say thank you again to everybody. And just, I'd like to say, I know the financial hardships that are heading this way, that we always worry about them with, budgeting. I just always hope you guys remember that recreation is a very unique part of what we do in Seneca Falls. It makes Seneca Falls unique to the rest of the area. And I know that a lot of times it's sometimes easy to pick up. Sometimes recreation might be low-hanging fruit, but it's not. It's really an important part of what we do here. If you have to ask yourself, can we afford to do this? I think it's better to ask yourself if you can afford not to. And so I hope in the future the commitment stays the same, and kids get a chance to really mature and grow and keep themselves in great shape, and give people a reason to come back here and live here. So thank you again for everybody, for everything. I appreciate it. And I really miss everybody.
On behalf of the people of Seneca Falls, I'd like to present this plaque to you and congratulate you and Debbie and your family, and thank you for your years of years of service. Plaque reads, presented to Jim Spina, Commissioner of Parks and Recreation, in grateful appreciation for your 22 years of dedication and commitment to the town of Seneca Falls, dated March 2nd, 2021. Thank you. Retirement, you gotta cut it. We're gonna take a real quick cake. Oh, I'm sorry. Stu's gonna, we didn't approve his resolution to reform movement.
So Jim, you've been a valued partner with the police department. From myself and everyone at the department, we'd like to thank you. Not too many people realize that not only Jim, but all the department heads, we work very closely together. I think that's kind of unique. And anything that we've ever needed in the police department, we pick up the phone, we call Jim, and he's been there for us. So on behalf of the police department, I'd like to present this plaque of appreciation for everything you've done for us.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much. People don't realize how much I look up to other department heads, and I've worked with Jimmy forever, but Stu and I really work closely on a lot of things, and I hope he always knows. I hope you always know how much I look up to you, and thank you for everything that you helped me do. And we did it together as a group, and I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you again. That's awesome. Thank you, everybody. Come in.
So Jim, you're going to cut, this is going to help you cut cake. And we have some coffee up here, okay? So if you'd like to take a couple-minute break and have a piece of cake or a cup of coffee, and then we'll continue on. Moving to, letter H is off the agenda. I just want to say that Steve and Doug, and I gave you a cemetery report. Okay, Don and Dave, I'll give it to you. But basically, Kay Ireland provided an overview of expenses for 2020 and so forth. There's a couple of items in the report that, as a board, not tonight, but as a board, I want people to look at it, and we need to address before the season starts. So take a look at that, not tonight, as I said. In April, we need to address a couple of things that Kay would like us to address and take a look at. Okay. I'm going to make a resolution or a motion to accept the SECRA resolution and the SECRA proposal for the water meter replacement project. Can I have a second for that, please? Second. Thank you. Doug, second. So we moved this away from February. We gave MRB, Emily, directions to make changes. Emily worked on that. She ran it past Pat. Pat gave it his blessing. So Pat, I don't know if there's anything you need to add to that.
I would just, so this is a secret review. This is, we've done a few recently when we were adopting local laws. This is for the project that would involve water meter replacement. And then this is a project is dependent upon getting a grant. Is that accurate?
I think the town wants to move forward, but I do really want to.
The ultimate, so the seeker is required to be done ahead of time before the grant will be entertained. So we're doing it now at this point, and then ultimately we'll get the grant or we won't get the grant. If we don't get the grant, we have more decisions to make. However, it is all laid out for you here. This is called the short environmental assessment form. It is it identifies the different areas, and really the main area where there was the potential for adverse environmental impact had to do with, tee up on this one.
Radiation or
Okay.
radioactive waves?
Definitely not radioactive waves. Radio waves.
Radio waves.
No tritium.
Thanks, Matt, too much frosting.
So this is the water meters are read remotely. So there are radio waves involved. That was something that that was one area of potential adverse environmental impacts that needed to be identified. Although the impact of that really could be considered at either no impact or small impact. And so the short environmental assessment form, it has part 2 where you're asked to identify, there's 11 areas that either you find that there's either no or small impact or a moderate to large impact. And although there are some areas that have been identified, okay, there could be a potential problem there, given the nature of this particular project, it's not likely that that impact would be anything at all. And so it is being recommended that you find that there's either no or a small impact that may be involved with this project for all 11 of these areas that you're asked about in part 2. And then if the board accepts that, you could make it would be appropriate to adopt this part 3 as presented, which makes the finding that this project would not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts, and that is what's known as a negative declaration. So it would be and that is all spelled out in the written resolution that is provided to you with the written materials to this.
And again, just so everybody understands, I know sometimes things get lost. This is just seeing if we can get a grant. It does not mean that, we're doing this project. This is something that Doug, myself, and Joe worked on. I think it's close to a $2 million project. And the board has not even made it, there's no decision made by the board as to we're going to go ahead with this project, okay? So this is just to see if we can secure the funds, because this is the first year that water meters were eligible for this type of fund. Okay. Any further questions, or bless you, any further questions or discussion?
So if we accept, pass a resolution, we've done everything we need to do for that, secret?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. Mick, you gotta fill this out. Okay. Emily, this come back to you once it's filled out?
Yeah, you can scan it, please.
Scan it, okay.
Yeah, that'd be perfect, thank you.
Wyatt? Yeah, thank you. So I've already signed what I gotta sign. So you can fill that out, who made the motion, second it, and then go over. Okay. I don't know if we need a motion, I don't know. But anyway, I'll make a motion that we allow senior class parents to place pictures downtown on our light poles. Can I have a second for that, please?
Second.
Thank you. If you remember, because of COVID last year, the senior class parents put large pictures of their students who graduated down Fall Street, a little bit up Cutie Street, a little bit up where we have the ornamental lights.
and it was a big hit. Because of COVID again this year, unfortunately, they're asking to do the same thing. Joel Murney Kirsten, thank you. His husband is an engineer. We had a little bit of concern last year with the poles and the ornamental lights and the wind. He's an engineer, and he's designed the things, Jim, and he assures us that they're going to be buying better material for the hangars, and he assures me everything will be fine. Not an issue. So that's what that's all about. Okay. So any questions or discussion there?
Yeah, because there's a lot of wind that comes down through there.
Right.
And it puts a lot of stress on the poles.
Yep.
That's why we had them take the bottom loose on it.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the revised employee handbook. Can I have a second for that, please? Thank you. So the handbook has been a working project. I'd like to thank Kim DeVay. I'd like to thank Barb Warfel. I'd like to thank Sandra Gramling. I'd like to thank Sarah Wright. Those 4 people and myself have been working on updating the handbook to make it consistent to what is actually going on, fix the misspelled words, updated things, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know when the last time it's been done, but it's done for now. If you approve the handbook, then we will provide that electronically to all of our employees, but now it's consistent with everything that's in place. Any questions or discussions about that? Okay. All in favor of accepting the new employee handbook, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. We have a resolution here from the Water and Sewer. It's a budgeted item for alum and tackle, whereas the Water Department needs to purchase alum and, am I saying that right, Joe? Tackle, PACL, to run both the water and wastewater plants, whereas the Water and Wastewater Department received 2 bids. Holland Company in Adams, Massachusetts, the low bidder, at $1.12 and $1.88 per gallon. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Seneca Falls Town Board does hereby authorize the purchase of alum and tackle from Holland Company for 2 years, $1.12 and $1.88 respectively. Can I have a second for that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussions for Joe? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So carried. I have a motion here I'd like to make a motion that we send Debbie Waite to the New York State Assessors Association training. I don't think we're sending you, right, Deb? This is a virtual meeting, right, or virtual training? Right. For $220. Have a second for that, please? Thank you. Any discussion?
Can we send Debbie Von Wall too?
Just what, Deb?
You said Debbie Waits, but can we send Debbie Von Wall?
I know.
Thank you.
Just ignore what I say, okay? Just ignore. Which two? Debbie Van Wall, thanks, Deb. Okay. All right. How come you haven't changed your email?
I did. I keep trying.
I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah.
You have. You told them to change it from Wait to Van Wall?
Von Wall, yeah.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Anybody opposed? All in favor, please say aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. I have a resolution here from Water and Sewer to sell ammonia parts to the Village of Waterloo, whereas the Town Water Wastewater Department has surplus ammonia feed equipment at the water plant, and whereas the Village of Waterloo is the only water plant we know that uses this equipment,
Therefore, it be resolved, the town board authorizes the sale of these surplus parts to the Village of Waterloo Treatment Plant for $50. Can I have a second for that, please? Thank you. Discussion. This came out of committee. I contacted the village administrator, John Northrup. Joe contacted the water and sewer person at Jim Branca. They were very thankful and appreciative. It's a good neighbor thing. Joe would have normally put these up on auction direct. Don't know what you'd garnish for them, but pretty much Waterloo is the only place around that still uses them. And as I said, they were very, very, very thankful for that. So, anybody have any questions for Joe or any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So carried. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the resignation and retirement, I guess. Anyway, resignation and retirement maybe, of zoning officer Dean Zettelmeyer. Dear Mike, to whom it may concern, to whom it may concern, I'm writing to inform you that I'm going back into retirement and resigning my position as Seneca Falls zoning officer effective May 1st, 2021. I am resigning my position due to medical reasons. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. It's been my privilege and honor to serve the people of the town of the Village of Seneca Falls since 1987. Sincerely, Dean Zettelmeyer. Have a second to accept that resignation? Thank you. As most of you may know or may not know, Dean retired as a police officer. He started working in the Village of Seneca Falls in 1987, and then when he retired from the police officer, he became our zoning and code person, and so now he suffered some health issues a couple of months ago. He looks good, he's on his way to recovery, but some people know how to retire, unlike other idiots sitting in front of you. I haven't mentioned any names. Mike or anyway, any further questions or discussions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. And I will, thank you. I just got that on Tuesday, no, I got that yesterday. I will be doing something to recognize Dean in April. It just wasn't possible tonight. So I mentioned that to Dean already, so he knows about that. Okay. I have a motion here, a resolution to close capital project fund for municipal building, whereas construction of the new town hall municipal building was completed in February of 2017, whereas the ban the town created to borrow from the tax stabilization reserve has been duly repaid, whereas it's now appropriate to return the remaining fund balance to the general aid fund and officially close the capital project for the construction of the town hall municipal building. Therefore, be it resolved that the Seneca Falls Town Board does hereby authorize the principal account clerk to transfer the remaining funds in the H account to the general fund, the A account, and to close out this capital project fund. Can I have a second for that, please? Wake up, guys. Thank you. Anybody, any questions? Anybody questions or discussion? I don't know how much. Do you know, Pat? Pat met with Bev this morning. I don't know exactly how much it is.
It's not.
It's not a lot.
No, it's not a lot.
Okay. But it's just cleaning up. It's more of an accounting thing, cleaning up the.
Yes, the building project is completed, and so now
no need to have
no
the.
longer necessary.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I have another resolution to establish a capital reserve fund to finance capital improvements. Resolved that pursuant to section 6-C of the general municipal law as amended, there is hereby established a capital reserve fund to be known as the Capital Reserve Fund, hereinafter Reserve Fund. The purpose of this reserve fund is to accumulate monies from the unexpended fund balance of the general fund to finance the cost of capital improvement. The Chief Fiscal Officer is hereby directed to deposit and secure the monies of this reserve fund in the manner provided by Section 10 of the General Municipal Law. The Chief Fiscal Officer may invest the money in the reserve fund in the manner provided by Section 11 of the General Municipal Law and consistent with the investment policy of the town board. Any interest earned or capital gains realized in the money so deposited or invested shall accrue to and become part of the reserve fund. The chief fiscal officer shall account for the reserve fund in a manner which maintains the separate identity of cash and investments of the reserve fund. By the word, if you don't know, unfortunately, I am the CFO of the chief fiscal officer. That's my responsibility as the town supervisor. So that's who the CFO is. Except as otherwise provided by Section C, the General Municipal Law, expenditures from the reserve fund should be made only for the purpose for which the reserve fund is established. No expenditure shall be made from this reserve fund without the approval of this governing board and without such individual actions or proceedings as may be required by Section 6-C of the General Municipal Law. Can I have a second for this resolution, please?
Second.
Thank you. Just so you know, this is all stuff that's kind of like normal operation. Pat has approved it, the comptroller approves it, it just needs board effort.
And the reserve fund, the purpose is to, if you have unexpended fund balance at the end of the year, it allows you to carry some forward and maybe build up a bit of a reserve that you can use for a particular project when the time comes. This type of reserve is not specified what that project's going to be. So when the time comes to take the money out, it may be necessary to do a resolution subject to a permissive referendum in order to access the money, depending on what the project is and the particulars of that, which we'll have to deal at that time. But right now, you're just setting up the reserve fund to maybe put some money together and carry it forward when you're able to.
Any questions or further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the water credits for the month of February. There are 6 credits, total amount of $3,196.92. As stated in the league credit code, this is a one-time credit. These people will not be able to apply for credit in the future. Have a second for that, please.
Second.
Second. I'll just bring up again, we do this every month. Sometimes it's this month, sometimes it's more. If we're fortunate enough to get a grant for the meters, this would eliminate a lot of this problem because we would be able to detect leaks right away. And, it's just the 21st century in moving that technology forward. Expensive technology, but still.
What includes radio waves?
Pardon? Right. Okay. All in favor of approving these credits, please say aye.
Aye.
So carried. Anybody opposed? No. Is there any other new business before this board? No new business. I would like to make a motion to go into executive session under Public Officers Law, Section 105, F and G, whereas the Town Board of Seneca Falls to discuss the medical and financial history of current employees, whereas the Town of Seneca Falls to discuss the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Seneca Falls Town Board will conduct an executive session to discuss matters that are related to medical and or financial situation of current employees and under Public Officers Law, Section 105F, and the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of property, Section 105H. The attorney for the town is invited into the executive session. Have a second for that, please? Second. All in favor, please say aye. We'll say there'll be no action taken from executive session. So I'd like to thank everybody who came tonight. I apologize for the length. Have a good evening.